या तो अगर मैं भाई, अगर मेरे को ब्लेज का इतना ही दिक्कत था तो मैं ESL खेलता ही नहीं ना ब्लेज के साथ, सिम्प को बुक खिला लेता। सिम्प था 5th बेटा, ब्लेज खिला हमारे साथ, सीधी सी बात है ना। अगर मेरे को दिक्कत थी मैं बोलता भाई ब्लेज को हटाओ, सिम्प को लेके आओ अंदर, सिम्प बाहर ही बैठा था।
जैसे बीजीएमएस में मिस किया, ठीक है, तुम्हारी जो ड्रीम टीम बनी उसमें क्या दिक्कत है? ऐसी उसमें तो सब परफेक्ट था, तो तेरा फेवरेट प्लेयर भी था,
सब
सब कुछ
परफेक्ट था,
था।
वो इसको पता है, लेकिन देखो
क्योंकि मैं तो एक मैच
टीम
था ही नहीं,
रुक
बुट
जा,
कैंप
एक
में था
बार
ही
बोलने तो
नहीं।
देखा
सब परफेक्ट था, सब परफेक्ट था। और जबकि ESL में हमारी वो टीम परफॉर्म करी और ये नहीं कर पाई, जो हमारी बहुत अच्छी टीम थी। लेकिन टीम वही परफॉर्म करती है जिसकी गेम के बाहर अच्छी बने, और गेम के बाहर बहुत आपस में क्लैशेस थे, वो ब्लेस को ही पता है।
काका, बट
लड़ाई।
ये जो तुम्हारी ड्रीम टीम थी, सेंसे, फियर्स, पंक एंड चौथा कौन था?
एक्वानॉक्स।
Aqua।
एक्वानॉक्स।
ये तो एक्सो का लाइनअप है, बट अकेला एक्वा तो नहीं है, बट ये तो एक्सो वाला लाइनअप ही पुराना। तो इस टीम में क्यों नहीं बनी बाहर? ये तो मस्त चल रहा
बाहर
था।
नहीं बनी, वो बहुत सारी लड़ाई हो गई थी, वो तो रीजंस मैं नहीं बताऊंगा, ब्लेस को खुद पता है
नहीं,
कितनी
मुझे
लड़ाई
सब नहीं
हुई।
पता, मैं घर पे था एक्चुअली। मेरे को जितना सुनने में आया, मुझे ये सुनने में आया कि बहुत ईगो क्लैशेस थे आपस में,
बहुत ईगो
clashes थे।
क्लैशेस अपार्ट, बहुत ऐसी लड़ाइयाँ भी होती थी, गेम में भी नहीं बनती थी। कुछ गलती करते तो सेंसी का भी ऐसा बहुत एग्रेशन आता था, और फिर एक्वा का भी एग्रेशन आता था। उस वजह से गेम, जब जिस टीम की गेम के बाद लड़ाई होगी खत्म है भाई, वो टीम वो नहीं कर पाएगी, भले कितनी अच्छी टीम हो। मेरे भी बीच में ऐसा मतलब भरोसा उड़ गया था, इतनी लड़ाई हो गई थी, मेरी खुद की लड़ाई हो गई थी, एक्वा की भी हो गई थी, सेंसी की भी हो गई थी। पंक एक कम लड़ता था, पंक तो सबको पता है कैसा बंदा है।
और पंक और मैं करंटली बेस्ट फ्रेंड्स भी है।
तो पंक एक था, पंक कंट्रोल करता था काफी सिचुएशन, लेकिन था बहुत लड़ाई होती थी, इस वजह से हम परफॉर्म नहीं कर पाए। वो एक ही रीजन है, वरना द ग्राइंड तक अगर आप देखोगे, द ग्राइंड में हम लोग फर्स्ट थे, BGMS द ग्राइंड तक। उसके बाद के जो 3 हफ्ते हमें ब्रेक मिला, उसमें बहुत हमारे क्लैशेस हुए, जिस वजह से।
तूने भी स्ट्रीम पे जाकर थोड़ा सा लेफ्ट राइट किया ना?
स्ट्रीम मैंने नहीं करी, ये सब मैं नहीं करता भाई।
स्ट्रीम करनी चाहिए वैसे, तुझे पता है, तू एक ही
करनी चाहिए, पर ये सब टॉपिक्स पे मैं स्ट्रीम नहीं करता, ये सब
तूने मतलब ये कहाँ बोला? मुझे किसी ने बोला कि फियर्स ने बोला कि ब्लेज का माइंडसेट बेकार है गेम की तरफ।
नहीं, ये मैंने कभी नहीं बोला, माइंडसेट बेकार नहीं है। जो
डिनाई कर दिया आपने?
नहीं,
पक्का
माइंडसेट का क्यों बोलूंगा मैं?
आपने भी इनको बोला कि फियर्स इज बहुत वो है, पॉलिटिक्स खेलता है, बेकार प्लेयर है।
पॉलिटिक्स नहीं खेलता, मतलब बिहेवियर इशू है, मतलब ईगो वगैरह मतलब सुना देता है वो प्लेयर्स को, क्योंकि उस टाइम
मुंह फटा है जो दिल में आप बोल
हाँ,
रहे हो,
मतलब
मतलब ऐसा
जो
नहीं है कि
एकदम
कलेश लेके पीछे बैठा।
मतलब उसको फर्क नहीं पड़ता सामने वाला क्या सोचेगा, वो उसको जो है बोल देता है वो।
हाँ सही बात है, तो मैं तो बोल देता हूँ भाई।
बट मेरे हिसाब से हमजा, बंद कमरे की बात ऑनलाइन ले जाना और ऑनलाइन किसी को बोलना गलत तो है भी।
मैं सब आपको पता है, मैं लाइव का भी करता हो गया ये मेरे को
पर्सनालिटी की टूट गया अगेंस्ट है
भाई। पर मैंने अगर लाइव भी किया ना, मैंने ऐसा कुछ हार्श नहीं बोला, आपको पता है, मैं एकदम शांति से आया।
भाई ने हाथ तो नहीं बोला, पर भाई ने जो जो बोला बहुत इफेक्ट हुआ है मेरे
क्या
को।
बोला
तो
मुझे
मैंने
बताइए।
क्योंकि मैंने कभी देखो 3 साल से मैं खेल रहा हूँ, मैंने कभी टीममेट से ऐसे नहीं सुना है कि इसने ये कर दिया, इसने बिठाया मेरे को, मैंने कभी नहीं करा है ये। मैंने बस जो है सो बोल दिया कि मेरा इसका नहीं बैठ रहा, और जबकि मैंने मीटिंग में बोल दिया था कि मेरा इसका नहीं बैठ रहा, तो मैं छोड़ देता
बात
हूँ।
निकालूं,
मैंने बोला मैं ही छोड़
बोलने
देता
से काट मत।
हाँ, sorry, माफ करो।
भाई को बोलना। हाँ बोल।
मैंने जबकि बोला कि मेरा और इसका नहीं बैठ रहा, तो एक काम करो, मेरे को तो टीम थी, ऑफर था मेरे को उस टाइम, तो मैंने बोला मैं ही छोड़ देता हूँ, इसको खिला लो, सीधी बात है। अब जब RNT के मैनेजमेंट ने वो डिसाइड करा कि इसको बेंच ही करना है, तो मैं उसमें कुछ नहीं कर सकता, मेरे को भी नहीं जाने देते।
चलो, ये जो बोल रहे ठीक है।
एक चीज मैं बोलूं, अब मैं तो था नहीं, अपने घर पे था, बट दोनों की बात समझ के मुझे एक ही बंदा याद आ रहा है बस, वो है असली कल्प्रिट।
वही मेरे माइंड में भी आ रहा है।
वही है मेन फसाद की जड़। बट कोई नहीं,
एक दिन हुआ था जिसकी वजह से मेरा इतना कुछ इस पे हुआ था। इसको पता है, हमारी मीटिंग हुई थी, मैंने लाइव पे बोला थी, मेरी मीटिंग में ऐसा हुआ था, ओनर वगैरह सब बैठे हुए थे, मैनेजमेंट ही सब प्लेयर्स भी थे। सो उसमें इसने सबके सामने ही बोला था, आई थिंक ESL के पहले था कि बाद में याद नहीं आ रहा मेरे को, मीटिंग हुई थी, तो उसमें ये हुआ था, इसने बोला था कि ब्लेज का गेम प्ले डेड हो गया, इसका टीम में 0 कंट्रीब्यूशन है, और इसे नहीं खेला जाएगा हमारे साथ एज अ हम चारों के साथ। तो अब से मेरा हो गया कि भाई इतना अगर किसका माइंड मेरे लिए, तो मैं सामने से नहीं खेल पाऊंगा अभी चाह कर भी। मैंने उसी ने बोल दिया था मैं स्पोर्ट्स में लाइक इसका तो नहीं खेल पाऊंगा टीम में, बिकॉज़
इतनी स्ट्रांग स्टेटमेंट किस लेवल पे बोली गई।
और इसने exactly ऐसा ही बोला
मीटिंग
था।
अब देखो, ओनर साहब बैठे हैं RNT के, सबको पूछ रहे बारी बारी करके क्या दिक्कत हो रही, क्या दिक्कत हो रही, क्या दिक्कत। अब कोई कुछ बोल ही नहीं रहा, क्या करूँ, कोई बोल नहीं रहा, और मेरे को दिक्कत तो थी भाई। अब मैं बोलूंगा नहीं, फिर मीटिंग हो जाएगी बात, फिर वही सर्कल होएगा। तो मैंने बोल दिया कि भाई मेरे से नहीं जम रहा, मैं नहीं खेल पाऊंगा, सीधा बोल दिया मैंने मीटिंग में। कोई बोल नहीं
बोल दिया कि मेरे को भी एक्चुअली नहीं खेलना है फिर, क्योंकि इतना अगर है तो फिर
अब उसको कोई देखो, सबको टीम में बैक में था कि, अब मैं नाम तो नहीं लूंगा, पर टीम में ऐसा था कि किसी को ब्लेज के साथ नहीं करना था आगे आफ्टर ESL, ये तो था ही था। मैं बोल रहा हूँ ये सच है कि नहीं करना है, लेकिन कोई मुंह पे नहीं बोल रहा भाई, सब पीठ पीछे बैठे हैं। अब फिर घुमाओ, अब ये फिर RNT में है, इसको पता
ब्लेम ले लिया बस, सबकी गोली
बस, सबका गोली मैंने खा लिया,
विवाद कर लिया अपने आप पे। कोई नहीं यार,
मैंने सीधा वो स्टेटमेंट भी मैंने एक दिया था, उसके बाद मैंने बोल दिया कि मैंने ब्लंटली बोला है भाई, जो है सो है,
मुंह पे बोल दिया।
और ऐसे सारे लोग थे, सबका एक पीछे दिमाग में था ही, और सब इसको झूठ बोल रहे हैं। अभी भी मैं तो बोल रहा हूँ सब झूठ ही बोल रहे हैं। मैंने उस दिन भी बोला कि भाई एक कॉल कर लेता, सब क्लैरिफाई कर देता।
मेरे को अभी तक सब ये बोल रहे हैं कि जो था इसका ही था, अभी तक आज तक मेरे को सब ये बोल रहे हैं,
तो
पता
वो
नहीं
तो
किसकी बात
बोलेंगे ही,
मानूं
देखो
किसकी
भाई
नहीं मानूं।
वो तो बोलने वाले हैं। मैं किसी प्लेयर का इतना बुरा नहीं करूंगा यार कि बोल दूंगा कि इसको बेंच ही कर दो, एक मेजर इतना बड़ा मेजर टूर्नामेंट बेंच ही कर दो, मैं क्यों बोलूंगा बताओ।
बट हमजा, अब जबकि फियर्स इतने कॉन्फिडेंटली बोले, जो बंदा मुंह पे बोल रहा है इसका मतलब वो डरता तो नहीं है। और इसने जब इतना ओपनली बोला है, इसका मतलब कल्प्रिट भी हाई चांसेस है कि ये तो डायरेक्टली वोकल है अपनी चीजों को लेकर। ऐसा तो नहीं हमजा तुझे कोई और पट्टी पढ़ा रहा है।
जो पिक्चर में
जो मैंने बोला कितने
देखो एक चीज जो ब्लेज ने बोली थी स्ट्रीम पे, वो मेरे को सही लगी कि वो मैंने रियलाइज भी करा कि मेरा गलत था, कि जो स्टार्टिंग में सही चल रहा था, उसके बाद जब ब्लेज की थोड़ी मिस्टेक्स हो रही थी तो मैं बहुत इम्पेशेंट हो रहा था। मैंने उसको बहुत बोला था, उसको मैंने बोलता रहा, तो वो सही चीज थी, वो सही बात बोली उसने, वो मैं बोलता था, तो मेरे को रियलाइज हो कि मैंने गलत करा। शायद मैं और पेशेंट होके और वर्क कर सकता था इसके साथ। जो एक ही चीज मैंने गलत करी है सीन में, बाकी मैंने कुछ गलत नहीं करा इसके साथ।
एक और रीजन लाइक ये बोले एक्सक्यूज है, पर एक्चुअली रीजन था वो कि हम लोग इवेंट जीते, ठीक है, प्रेस का। उसके बाद मेरे माइंड में प्लान आया था कि मेरे को था कि अभी वैसे भी सब ऑफिशियल प्रो पे हो रहे हैं, सो आई शिफ्ट ऑन प्रो डिवाइस। सो मैंने आरएनटी को बोला मुझे प्रो ला के दो, मैं प्रो पे शिफ्ट हुआ। तो मेरे 4-5 दिन स्टार्टिंग में गेम में एक्चुअली मैं डाउन था, बिकॉज मैं मैक्स से प्रो पे आया था। मैंने बोला सेंसी थोड़ा देख, मेरा भी गन पावर थोड़ा वीक है, बिकॉज मैं शिफ्ट हो गया इस पे।
एंड्रॉइड चलाना चाहिए था, पता है?
क्यों?
एंड्रॉइड इज बेटर।
Yes, Samsung
ये सबसे बड़ी गलती तेरी है।
या एंड्रॉइड इज बेटर।
तो उस टाइम मतलब कुछ मैचेस में मेरा 1v1 चोक हो रहा था, तो उस टाइम ऐसा होने लगा कि कुछ भी हो रहा है सब मेरे पे आ रहा है कि ब्लेज की वजह से हार रहे हैं, ब्लेज की वजह से मैच। तो मेरे माइंड में आती रही चीज़ कि भाई अब गलती करूंगा तो आप ही सुनाएंगे मेरे को। तो मेरा ऑलरेडी मोरल लो हो गया, और वो फिर कैरी ऑन हो गया। वही बोल रहा हूँ, वो पूरा कैरी ऑन हो गया फिर।
वो तो मैंने करा है गलत, मैं तो बोलता हूँ भाई मैंने करा है गलत। आई एग्री।
You know, after having heavy conversation, ये तो कंफर्म है कि रिश्ते में थोड़ी सी खटास आई थी, ठीक है? और ये खटास बहुत प्यार से जाती थी, बिकॉज भाईचारे में प्यार बहुत है। एक अच्छा सा हैंडशेक बनता है यार। मैं बता रहा हूँ, ये लाइफ है, दैट्स द रियलिटी ऑफ ई स्पोर्ट्स प्लेयर की। ये चीज़ें होती रहेंगी, 2 की 4 होगी, 4 की 8, फिर 16। तो भूलो, आगे बढ़ो, बहुत कुछ है, और अभी तो शुरुआत है। और तुम्हारे पास फर्स्ट कम एडवांटेज है भाई, लेगेसी लिखने की बात है। तो वो स्मार्ट प्लेयर्स हो भाई, ठीक है? और ये जो तू ऑनलाइन वाला है ये बुरा है, तुझे नहीं करना चाहिए। और फिर और उसको कॉल भी कर लियो सॉर्ट करने के लिए, ठीक है? आई एम फीलिंग सो हैप्पी कि इस सेगमेंट में मेरे भाइयों को बुलाया। मैंने लिटरली मसाले के लिए बुलाया था, इमोशनल कर दिया। बट थैंक यू सो मच हमजा, लव हैविंग यू माय सेल्फ। फियर्स, जय माता दी, गुड जय माता, ठीक है ना? मेरे दोनों बॉयज आपको मिलेंगे कहाँ? BGMS, जो क्रेजी होने वाला है, बहुत ज्यादा मजा आने वाला है। हमारा नेशनल टीवी पे भी जा रहा है। सो और बहुत सारे प्लेयर्स आएंगे, इन कुर्सियों पे बैठेंगे, बातें करेंगे, मैं उनसे और सारी खबरें निकालूंगा, बट अगले एपिसोड में। टिल देन कीप गेमिंग।
In Season 1, it was Global Esports, tailed by Godlike. In Season 2, it was Gladiators, tailed by Orangutan, which missed out on the champion spot just by 1 single point. But now in Season 3, it's time for the end game. After the span of 12 games, the champions will be crowned on that stage right there. But as we move on for today's day, the day 1 of the Grand Finals, it's time for me to welcome my co-host. It's going to be Shaishino himself, and we're back once again in the Grand Finals day 1, where things will be super excited. We had so many known names get eliminated already from the tournament, but we still do not know what holds for the future.
Oh my god, the known names, Revenant Esports, Team Forever. And you mentioned about Orangutan that were trailing Gladiators Esports back in Season 2. Ash was a part of that lineup itself, and now to see the man himself will not be here. But one good thing is that 2 other players who were Wish, Jordan, AKOP are definitely here in the lineup along with Atanki and Aru. I'm excited to see what's going to be the result of the fate of this time for these teams. But honestly, let's talk about the past things, right? As to how things used to unfold previously. Global Esports was the one that won the first BGMS.
Exactly. As I mentioned in Season 1, it was the Global Esports. But that lineup that Global Esports has, now it's currently playing under Aiku Soul's name.
Yes.
So that's another thing we need to consider. But Global Esports this year, they have been looking formidable once again. Yeah, with newer players in the lineup, they have went through some tweaks and changes as well in the past. Arsenal being the IGL, considering this team was led by Mavi. So yeah, there's definitely been these tweaks and changes. That's why Season 3 matters so much for these players, because because they have went through so much changes that they want to prove that these changes are correct.
Absolutely, and they are looking correct, to be very specific on board, and not just for one team but for all of these teams, right? Because we've seen teams utilize the format of the bounty itself, of all the power plays itself, but in the playoffs, let's talk about that for that matter, we did see teams shifting back to their passive play style, though going in a bit too slow and probably just getting comfortable with what they really love.
And speak about the comfort zone. This is definitely going to be the prize pool that brings that comfort zone to the players when they hear the first placing team will be getting 55 lakh rupees. Now that's a lot of money, but then the second placing team, it's a big dip in the prize pool. Only 15 lakhs will be given to them. And you talk about the third placing team, that just gets even worse. So you got to make sure that you're aiming for the stars. You got to make sure that you're aiming for that championship spot.
Absolutely, do not miss out on that is going to be the name of the game for most of these teams, making sure that they push forward, because we still remember that every single point counts, and that's what happened in Season 2 itself. Just 1 point separating both these teams, 4 points separating, if I'm not wrong, the teams back in Season 1 itself.
Exactly, and you speak about the 4 points. It was godlike, tailing the players of Global Esports. And as I mentioned, right now, the Global Esports' lineup has shifted compared to Season 1. In the Season 1, the boys were playing quite nicely. You had a player like Manya, who's currently representing another banner called IQ Soul. The entire lineup has now shifted to IQ Soul. But yeah, Global Esports back in the day, they were doing phenomenal. And they've always been known for their slow approach to the game. At the start, they start it slow, and then later on, in the final few moments, when it matters the most, that's when they hit hard. Jonathan, being the MVP of the Season 1, unfortunately was not able to be the champion of the tournament, and it was definitely quite disheartening for the fans.
Absolutely, and they have been struggling since then to try and lift that trophy. Godlike have been in that struggling phase, we have known that, but this time's lineup, it definitely looks promising. It looks like maybe this time the entire drought that has been brought in the trophy pool will be lifted up, but one team that has been having constant success is definitely this lineup of Global Esports that played back in that day. Manya, Ronnie, Knuckle, as well as Joker. They've got a new addition now. And again, we'll really love to see how they were playing back then versus how they're playing now. Always working around with the basics and going on aggressive when needs be.
But Global Esports, this name holds a big legacy, and now they need to continue that legacy. Now they need to relive to the expectations once again in Season 3. With new boys underneath the banner and so much left to live for, this is definitely going to be tough for the young guns. But we know what they're capable of. We have seen their confidence in the battlegrounds. I still think for the boys, it's not going to be that easy.
I mean, one thing that I could agree is definitely trying to reach to that first spot is going to be super difficult, because we've got so many names out here right now, so many roster shuffles that we have seen as well. And I mean, just a clash of the ideas, the clash of the playstyles is what we always see. And right now it is just at its peak, because even in Season 2, if you remember, teams, they went back to their own playstyle, but some teams were required to go on to the aggressive, and that was the moment that they broke down.
And speak about the aggressive nature. In Season 2 as well, we saw a complete different storyline. OG, unfortunately, missing on that championship spot just by 1 single point. And that 1 single point costed them 1 crore rupees. That was so much money on the line, and the bragging rights too were taken away. And for OG, why Season 2 mattered the most was because they were not able to win any big trophies, and that was the only thing they were getting so close to, but still so far.
Absolutely, and this was the moment itself as well. They lost a couple of players early on, they were losing people left, right and center, and then AK losing his opportunity, and it was time for the members of Gladiators to try and play just for survival, and that's exactly what Delta did. And stepping up during that time too, this man knows how to play in clutch. This man knows how to maneuver in situations when the pressure is at an all-time high, and that's what this entire team showcased, and it was a dream year for the Gladiators that time.
It indeed was. Destro being the trophy magnet in 2023, it was definitely the talk of the town, but unfortunately OZ just missing out on that trophy with 1 point. It was definitely quite saddening for the fans, and not just for the fans, even for the players themselves. themselves. The management team was quite upset. We saw the players, of course, shed some tears. But then on the opposite side of the spectrum, it was Gladiator Esports to lift the trophy, now known as Mogo Esports. And we know what these boys are capable of. Unfortunately, Destro in 2024, it feels like he's lost that touch. But all it takes is one single moment to bring himself back in that race.
Absolutely, and I personally feel that back in the playoffs, this team definitely showcased some signs of life with the way when they actually finished up in probably the top 5 position, and with the way how they even got the chicken dinner. When push came to shove, this team performed. So I'm really expecting this time to Moga now to step back things up with the way how this survival week and the domination week was going. Yes, we had our own questions. We even questioned if this team would be able to qualify for the finals or not, but they have showcased that the experience that they've grabbed on till now is now coming for a fruitful result.
Hey, talk about the fruitful results, and now in Season 3, a lot of those teams are still looking forward to get their hands on that trophy. Every single team is so capable that it's getting really tough for us to make any sort of judgments who's going to be the one to get their hands on the trophy. A team like Carpedium that was recently formed, even they were giving quite a tough fight to the other competitors.
Absolutely. I mean, I can hear the chants out there right now because, as you mentioned, Carpedium, a team that was recently formed, that struggled to even qualify for the top 20 itself. A team that we thought that might not make it up was the one to qualify in the top 4 for the finals. Now, these kind of results are something that always gives me hope for all the teams, for all the underdogs as well, that we talk about a team like One Blade. It qualified in the last game itself. Now, these, again, I want to see more success and I want to see some tight competition.
Yeah, I mean, once again, refocusing on the entire journey, right? As you mentioned, Carpedium, barely being able to qualify to the league stage. But then later on, we saw that instant shift in the gameplay. And that's where Carpedium realized that, we were experimenting something else in the opening week. And now in the league stage, let's try something else.
Absolutely.
They tried the aggressive phase on. It instantly worked out for the boys. They were skyrocketing up in the overall standings. And they kept that skyrocket till the end. They were in the top 4. They directly moved on to the grand finals, while the other teams, they moved into the playoffs. And you speak about the playoffs. Yeah, few teams, they showcase their main strategy, but I still think there's a lot more these teams need to showcase that we haven't seen so far.
Absolutely, and for now, we're going to have a look at the most wicked players as well. Hunters topping the chart yet again with 44, Beast with 42, AKOP, Ninja Boy, Max coming in with 40, 40 and 39. Not a lot of finishes separating all of these players. Only 5 if you start from the first back to the 5th.
Exactly. I mean, specifically looking at the most wicked players, you've got Ninja Boy there, and trust me when I say this, all it takes is one single flip. As soon as Ninja Boy goes all berserk in the battlegrounds, he's probably going to be the one to top the charts.
True.
Now, the only reason why I'm favoring Ninja Boy so much is because throughout this entire year, this man has been dominating in not just this tournament, even in the past tournaments that he's played. So there's a high chance Ninja Boy can be up for contention. But you cannot take Beast out of that as well. You also need to consider Beast. He's been a beast player for global esports. I mean, look at the stats. A lot of those numbers when it comes to the finish points, even Beast has been able to acquire those.
Absolutely, and if we would have moved on to the next page itself, we would have seen Slug entering that entire list too. 3 of the main players of the global esports lineup. Only Arsenal is the one who's left, and he's the IGL, so it's absolutely fine. And if we're comparing both Reckoning as well as global esports, not a lot of points separating these teams, but a lot of frags indeed definitely was in favor of global esports, while Reckoning esports made up for that with their positions itself. And it clearly seemed to, and global esports showcased us that they do not really care about the position whatsoever. They just want fights. And I still remember that one game, probably the last day of the domination week, when they had the entire circle for themselves and they decided, you know what, let's leave it. Let's take the fight with the godlike players behind us and move out. They finished them off. They went back into the circle itself, and Slug was a solo player holding down the entirety of God's reign onto his own assaulting place.
I mean, once again, another big point that needs to be mentioned over here is that both the teams that you saw, Reckoning Esports and Global Esports in that head-to-head, both the teams have the young guns in their lineup.
True.
Both of them are so young when it comes to their ages. It's crazy. And they have been dominating this entire playing field. Considering BGMS favors the team that is supposed to be aggressive, it's really adding on to their firepower a bit more. They're getting those extra points in the power play. They were getting those extra points in the bounty system too. And that's just getting even better. But unfortunately in the grand finals, things will be a little bit different. And I think so teams will definitely try to play passive on day 1 and day 2 at least.
I guess so. We're going to see the exact same playstyle that we saw back in the playoffs itself, right? Where we've seen teams take that slow approach. Not a lot of those fights happen. and most of the teams just stay alive till the last few stages of the circle and then take those fights. Rather, the only fights that we see in the power play itself are probably for those drop clashes, and that's about it. But even if you're looking at all these clips of Global Esports, Reckoning Esports, both of these teams showcase that one thing that you mentioned, and that is that young gun assault firepower, where they're not shying away from the fights. They are just accepting all of it, and they're answering back with even bigger weaponries.
I mean, talk about that, and then you cannot really overshadow the fact that day one of the grand finals is always super important. On day one, it's time for you to set the mark. It's time for you to set the target. On day two, it's supposed to be the day of comebacks. The teams on the latter half of the board, they give it all they have, and they try to make the comeback in the overall standings. On day three, well, for the teams on the latter half of the board, it's their last run. If they're not able to make the leap, well, then unfortunate. But if they're able to make that leap, then it will be the greatest comeback in the history. But they will also try to make sure that they're sabotaging a few games here and there that they do not really like, and that will be another factor that will be adding on a lot of that interesting stuff.
Yes.
And just to let you guys know another beautiful thing, and that is that all these players are playing on Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra device with an ultra smooth experience. Let's move on to a short break. We'll be right back.
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. A ride with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. On a ride we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Red Bull gives you wings.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
इस सफर की शुरुआत हुई थी 19 जुलाई 2024 को. आज है 20वां दिन. लेकिन बिफोर वी लुक टुवर्ड्स द फ्यूचर, लेट्स जस्ट लुक एट व्हाट हैपेंड अ कपल ऑफ डेज बैक. इसी मंच पर एट द एंड्रॉइड अरीना हमने दिल टूटते हुए देखे, हमने आंसू देखे. वी रिमेंबर फ्लॉक, वी रिमेंबर निंजू, क्योंकि वो टीम्स जो हैं वो प्रोग्रेस नहीं कर पाई हैं. एंड दैट इज व्हाट मेक्स दिस द टफेस्ट टूर्नामेंट इन द कंट्री. स्वागत है आपका एंड्रॉइड BGMS सीजन 3 पावर्ड बाय गानियामेन में. मैं हूं सुरेंद्र सुंदरम एंड टुडे वी आर एट द एंड्रॉइड अरीना. ये सीटें जो आपको अभी खाली नजर आ रही हैं, कुछ देर में ये भरने वाली हैं. बिकॉज लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, दिस इज द फाइनल स्ट्रेच. दिस इज वेयर इट ऑल मैटर्स. हमें नहीं पता है कि उस चमचमाती ट्रॉफी पे किसके हाथ होंगे, लेकिन कहते हैं ना कि ऊपर वाले ने किस्मत लिखी हुई है. वन टीम इज डेफिनेटली गोइंग टू शो समथिंग मैजिकल, समथिंग अनप्रेसिडेंटेड. हमें नहीं पता है वो टीम कौन सी होगी, उस टीम को खुद नहीं पता है कि वो शायद जीतने वाले हैं. बट इन अगले 3 दिनों में, ओवर द कोर्स ऑफ 12 मैचेस, एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग टू बिकम क्लियर एंड वी आर गोइंग टू क्राउन द चैंपियंस ऑफ सीजन 3. I'm feeling a little alone. The stage is feeling a little empty. So without any further ado, here are the 16 best teams that have made it through the most tough challenges to make it to the grand finales of the Android BGMS Season 3, powered by Garnier Men. And here is the maverick Somraj, who walks with his band of boys who are ready to become one team, one entity. There you go. Now these 4 are not new to the finale pressure, but will they crumble or will they triumph on the stage? This is Carnival Gaming. A million hearts beat with this team. It's none other than Aiku Soul. This team took the tough route from the qualifiers and now have a point to prove. Get your hands together for Team One Blade. Season 2 finale left them 1 point short, but the Apes are back on the hunt again to do some. Woo, woo, woo. They're fan favorites. They are loved. They've got the universal MVP in the squad. Be aware of Hero Extreme, godlike. Unpredictable is their nature. Consistency, though, is their key. It's time for Team 8-Bit to take the stage. The homies from the south, Mr. IGL, is steadily hunting his way to the trophy. Hold the door, everyone, because it's Team Amilas. They lifted the trophy last season with much fanfare. They're the defending champions and they surely know a thing or two about what it takes to lift that elusive trophy. Mogo Esports. This team is beaming with skill, so never count them out of a fight. It's none other than Raven Esports. The momentum has started building, but will that carry them to the trophy? Put your hands together for Team X-Spark. New faces came to form on this roster, but they have proved their mettle on every turn, which has been full of twists. Cheer for WSB Gaming. Here come the gods. They have rested for 4 days and now are ready to shower their wrath on the battleground at this Android Arena. This is God's reign. It's been a stellar run and Pukar is aiming for a second land trophy in 2024. Will he let anybody come in his way? Will Carpe Diem take the trophy home? The boys with the most good-looking jersey. Will the first-time champions make a winning statement again in Season 3? And last but not the least, the most deadly team during the league stage, is here to stay where they belong. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Reckoning Esports. Now it feels like we are ready for the finals. लेकिन मैं तो यार latest edition हूँ, मेरे को तो ज़्यादा time भी नहीं हुआ है. But someone who has seen this right from the very first day in season 1, मैं उसको बुलाना चाहता हूँ. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Actually, I'm going to clap for him. Here comes Crat. Good to have you.
कैसे हो?
Listen, I'm feeling nervous. मेरे को थोड़ा सा डर लग रहा है. 16 teams, but you've seen this from day one. क्या है मायने of Android BGMS?
मास्टर सीरीज ना एक नॉर्मल टूर्नामेंट नहीं है. बहुत सारे शब्द होते हैं इसको डिस्क्राइब करने के लिए. बिकॉज ये सबसे लंबा टूर्नामेंट है. यहाँ पर इमोशंस का एक अलग ही सैलाब रहता है पूरे टाइम. मतलब टैलेंट साइड से भी बात करें, हम जब पहले दिन आते हैं ना, हम सोचते हैं इस बार बहुत मज़ा आएगा, बहुत सारे मैचेस हैं. कैसे ही दिन खत्म हो जाते हैं. हम लिटरली ग्रैंड फाइनल पहुँच गए. 19 जुलाई को शुरुआत करी थी. कांट डिस्क्राइब.
आज 20वां दिन है एंड 4 टीमें उन्होंने इंतज़ार किया है कि कब फाइनल्स आएंगे, कब दे कैन गेट बैक इनटू द गेम. लेकिन हम 2 ऐसी टीम्स को बुलाने वाले हैं जिन पे फोकस काफ़ी ज़्यादा रहेगा, क्योंकि एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो ऑलरेडी ट्रॉफी उठा चुकी है और एक टीम जो अभी है फिलहाल डिफेंडिंग चैंपियंस. सो आते हैं यहाँ पे स्लग एंड डेस्ट्रो. कौन शुरुआत करेगा?
आप बड़े हो, आप करो.
अरे क्या बात है, थैंक्स. दैट वाज अ बैड जोक फ्रॉम हिज साइड. डेस, बड़े तो आप भी हैं क्योंकि आपने ये ट्रॉफी जो है वो जीती हुई है. एंड देखो, इट्स अ टफ टैग टू कैरी, राइट? डिफेंडिंग चैंपियंस. यू आर द वन हु सेड कि भाई हम प्लेऑफ्स के थ्रू ही जाना चाहते हैं, मैं अपनी टीम को पूरी तरीके से पुख्ता करना चाहता हूँ. लेकिन कान में वो आवाज़ आती होगी ना, डिफेंडिंग चैंपियंस हो फिर से करो, डिफेंडिंग चैंपियंस हो फिर से करो.
मतलब ऑफ कोर्स थोड़ा बहुत तो वो दिमाग में रहता है कि लास्ट ईयर हमने ट्रॉफी उठाई थी तो इस साल भी बढ़िया ही करना है. बट कोई प्रेशर नहीं है ना, मेरी टीम को मैंने प्रेशर दिया इस चीज़ का. आई वांट देम टू एंजॉय द गेम. मेरा भी वही ट्राई, एंजॉय करना है, मज़े करना है.
स्पोकन लाइक अ ट्रू चैंपियन.
हाँ, बट स्लग आपके लिए अलग कहानी है. ये जो जर्सी पहन रखी है, ये जर्सी थोड़ा प्रेशर है बिकॉज ये सीज़न 1 चैम्पियन थे. अब आपकी परफॉर्मेंस भी काफ़ी पुख्ता रही है. आपका कैसा रहा सब कुछ?
तो अभी तक तो जैसा कि आप लोगों ने देखा है कि डोमिनेशन करते आए. जी का नाम एग्रेसिव, एकदम वो बोलते हैं कि टीम एग्रेसिव खेलती है, वैसा ही खेलता है. एंड एक प्रेशर तो फील होता ही है कि सीज़न 1 विनर है तो अब करना है. सीज़न 2 नहीं रही है तो अब सीज़न 3 में वापस इनको लेगेसी मेंटेन करने के लिए हम पे ही है रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी वैसी. तो हम फुल ट्राई करेंगे कि इस बार पूरा अपना 100% दें एंड आप सबको क्या कहते हैं, नाराज़ ना करें एकदम.
मुझे लगता है लेगेसी सेफ हैंड्स में.
पहला दिन याद है, ओपनिंग वीकेंड, हमने डेस्ट्रो से उस टाइम पे भी बात की थी एंड हम लोग पीछे भी बात कर रहे थे. डेस्ट, यू रिमेंबर मैंने पहले दिन क्या बोला था? दैट बहुत सारी टीम्स जो यहाँ पे हैं, उस टाइम पे तो 24 टीमें थी ना, बहुत सारी टीम्स को ऐसा लग रहा था कि मोगो डिफेंडिंग चैंपियंस है लेकिन दे आर नॉट इन द फेवरेट्स. इनमें वो बात नहीं है. यू प्रूव्ड एवरीवन रॉन्ग. तुमने हर फेज में अपनी टीम को कैसे भी इंस्पायर किया एंड हियर यू आर इन द ग्रैंड फिनाले. उन टीम्स को क्या कहना चाहते हो? अब सबको क्या कहना चाहते हो? बिकॉज क्लियरली जो तुम बोलते हो वो सच तो हो ही जाता है.
आई मीन इसका सिर्फ सिंपल आंसर यही है, फेवरेट्स तो हम किसी भी टूर्नामेंट में नहीं रहे हैं, जो भी हम जीते हैं, बट जीत जाते हैं. इस बार भी नहीं है तो लेट्स सी.
यू नो दिस क्वेश्चंस आपकी तरफ बड़ी स्पीड से आ रहा है. अभी एक छोटी छुट्टी मिली, यू नो प्लेऑफ्स के टाइम पे आपने तैयारी करी. तो ये पिछले 4 दिन का मुझे बता दो रूटीन कि आप चारों ने कितना होमवर्क किया है.
तो हम चारों ने जो पिछले 4 दिन थे तो काफ़ी हमने ग्राइंड करा. ऑफलाइन हमने काफ़ी चीज़ें डिस्कस करी कि क्या करना है ग्रैंड फाइनल्स में, क्या नहीं करना है. तो काफ़ी प्रिपेयर है इस बार, काफ़ी अच्छा माइंडसेट लेके आए एंड आपको दिखेगा ही जो होगा.
स्लग अपनी उम्र के हिसाब से काफ़ी ज़्यादा मैच्योर है.
लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, डेस्ट्रो, स्लग, लेकिन 16 टीमें इस स्टेज पे, 3 दिन, 4 मैचेस एवरी डे. दिस इज गोइंग टू बी अ क्रैकर जैक. आप दोनों अपनी टीम्स को जाके ज्वाइन कीजिए. That's it from the stage for now because ladies and gentlemen, just a little bit, match number 1 is coming up.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. A ride with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं ये सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
What's up, everyone? Come on in.
I got 100 ways that I could make you look. You cannot read me, I ain't no page in a book. But there's 100 ways that I could make you look.
Wow.
Make you make you look.
Wow.
Look, make you look.
Welcome back after that short commercial break. And yes, TVS Raider is our mobility partner. That Black Panther edition looks absolutely wicked, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I still am waiting for you to do the Wakanda Forever, which I know that you would probably not do. I like the Iron Man edition as well because it looks super slick, super cool, just like that trophy in between.
Ooh, and speak of that trophy, 16 teams, the best 16 teams in the Indian region looking to get their hands on it. You've got so many well-capable names, while some of the names purely managed to qualify through the playoffs. And I'm speaking about one player, a team that no one expected to see over here in the grand finals. They have made it, and just after that one last game that we witnessed in the playoffs.
Absolutely. I mean, talk about just surviving by the skin of their teeth. But when the push came to shove, this team definitely survived, and they basically soared higher than a lot of those expectations. But if we are talking about the expectations, a lot are on the shoulders of the man that we on screen right now, named Destro, in the lineup of Mogo. And honestly, he needs to perform because they are the defending champions.
Mogo Esports, also known as Gladiator Esports, in the last year, and this team was the team to lift the trophy of BGMS Season 2. And as you mentioned, so much to live up to, so much on the shoulders. Will they crumble, or will they once again rise high like the Phoenix? Because they definitely can. No one expected even Mogo Esports to be in the grand finals with the form and with the performance they showcased in the league stage. But then in the playoffs, it was a complete different picture. And the same thing can be said for Entity too. In the league stage, Entity was doing so good. But then in the playoffs, we saw a big dip in the performance. But still, they have somehow made it to the grand finals.
Absolutely. For a second, they were on the verge of elimination. And honestly, a team that's never normally on that shoes is definitely this lineup. Aiku Soul. This is the exact same lineup with just one new addition that lifted up the trophy of Season 1 under the banner of Global Esports. The legacy is going to be carried by them, but the players are definitely feeling a lot of pressure. You talked about Entity, a team that had a dip in the performance. There's a team who actually performed out of their minds and honestly up to the expectations of the people, and that was Team X-Spark. The team that could not even move up in the top 15 was able to move up in the top 2 when things mattered.
I want to go back to IQ Seoul's conversation once again, and I genuinely think IQ Seoul will be one of the most surprising teams in the grand finals. It feels like for some reason there's still a part of their gameplay that they haven't showcased, that they're still keeping a big secret. And now when we move on to the grand finals, IQ Seoul, they will drop a bombshell. On the day one, it matters the most, and IQ Seoul, they need to be somewhere, at least in the top 3, to have a slot or to have a chance at the championship in the Season 3. You've got the boys of OG themselves in Season 2. After missing out on that championship slot just by one single point, they know how much they need to live up to this year.
You have no idea how much I really wanted to shout OG just because of we know the importance of that chant. The importance of that point is something that cannot be known by any other team apart from them. But the shoulders are burdened for this team and this lineup as well. Global Esports, the champions of Season 1. The lineup is different, but the legacy should continue. God's Reign as well, a team that basically always moves under the radar, but was able to qualify through the entire domination week itself in that top 4 and skip the entire journey of that playoff. Definitely a lineup I'd be looking forward to and see how they perform.
This lineup of God's Reign has been quite formidable, not just in this tournament, even in the past tournaments that I've witnessed. They have been super consistent on the board, but then how can you forget about Godlike? In the opening week, they were not able to make it to the league stages, but just because of the fans, they made it to the league stages. We saw a major shuffle in the playing 4-2, where Z-God was brought back in, and then not just Z-God was there, even Punk was in the playing 4. A big IGL change helped Godlike to secure their slot in the grand finals. You cannot forget about Team Tamilas too, another team that is known for their defensive gameplay, but in the league stage, they showcased a complete different pace, and that was definitely a force to be reckoned with. But now, it's time for us to step in the first game of the grand finals of BGMS Season 3, powered by Garnier's Men. And here we go, as the plane flat path begins all the way from Severny towards Milta. This plane flat path is heavily tilted to the right side of the map. If the teams want to move into the left side, it will be a tough stretch, but I want to see some drop collisions off the rip.
Oh, you will potentially see the first one between 8-Bit and Team Tamilas, because both of them like to drop around very peer. For Global Esports, they're going to be one of the happiest team out here, but what am I seeing? Raven as well taking an early exit. That's understandable. They will move again towards the Georgia Pole area itself. But as you mentioned, you wanted to see some drop clashes. We will potentially see. Now, my question is Entity still going to go to Severny, or are they going to change it? Because when Global was not there, they were dropping in Severny itself.
I mean, speak of Global Esports, I mean, they have taken an exit from the plane flat path instantly. And all the boys, they have spread themselves out quite wide. Interesting. They definitely do want to move in towards Severny, but they do not know if they're going to be targeted by Entity or not. And recently, even Entity changed their drop location towards Severny, so it makes a lot of sense why they're playing with so much caution.
An Entity, though, on the other side, they've decided to move in over towards Zarki. I really wanted to see if in case Godlike would try and drop there or not, but it does not seem to be the case. Seems like we're also seeing Carnival Gaming right now change their drop location a bit, or maybe they want to try and go in for a pit stop fight. Might be something pretty interesting though. Mogo again.
Oh my god. Talk about the pit stop collision, and you've got one right in front of your screens. God's Reign up against another formidable opponent. That's going to be Raven Esports. And this will be quite a hell of a fight. Raven Esports' aim god is taken down way too low. Unfortunately, the man does not really have a lot of HP anymore, but he can still try and fight back better. Gets his hands on the AKM2, while his teammates got his hands on the double-barrel shotgun. This will be a tough fight to convert for Raven Esports, considering they're definitely lacking on the weaponry. They do have a bit of that, though. And still, they can't fight back with just that bit of a firepower. Phantom in the back lines is definitely going to try to create that off angle on top of the hill, making sure that the players of Raven Esports, they don't move out in the open and try and surround his own teammates. Phantom will try to play from the opposite end, and that's what he's exactly doing. But Raven Esports, they've dropped in with just a 3-man squad towards this area. Hulk is separated a little bit away from the pack, and he's probably getting his hands on the vehicle and a better loot. And that's where Phantom will be surprised from the backlines.
That's what I was about to say as well when you mentioned about the Phantom and him trying to create that off angle. I was about to say almost a similar thing, but wait a second. Carnival Gaming, Mighty fires another shot, and Carnival are now down to their feet. Goblin, they will potentially lose him too. because it seems like they are trying to go for the retreat as Neo is the only man surviving right now for them.
As expected, we're seeing these pit stop collisions. And CG, unfortunately, they've lost out on too many players in the fight. Hector's the last man standing, or the second last man standing for that squad, and he's constantly on the move. There's another man of CG in the back lines, and even he's trying to deal a bit more damage in the name of Neo. 8-Bit, they have been successfully eliminated from the game. Unfortunately for 8-Bit, the game one hasn't been their way at all.
Oh my god, this is so very bad for their side.
We saw this coming.
Again, this was so very difficult to handle it. Carnival Gaming starting on such a solid note, and on the other side, even Raven finding an opener against the members of God's Reign, and it's Hulk, as you mentioned, surprising the man himself, Phantom, creating that angle, getting a better loot for himself on the other compounds, and then moving in to support his team.
There's also one blade around the fray, and they will definitely try to third-party this. They have heard a few shots. They've also heard a few conversions here and there. So they can go for the third party if they want. But for God's Reign, just pinned in that one single house is getting a little bit too isolating for them. They need to do something, move out a little bit more, spread their wings, try and get that ground control in their hands, because if they're just in one single house, the surrounding awareness is definitely going to lack. A beautiful nade coming in from the opponent. It's going to chip so much damage onto Altu, and Altu cannot do a lot now.
If only that was a knock, we would have definitely seen Raven jumping in to try and take that fight. But right now, they really do not know where the players exactly are. They spotted one. Now they know they're going upwards. But as you mentioned, One Blade as well now deciding to jump in for that third party. This could very well be a great decision for One Blade if they show just a slight bit of patience as well in this meantime.
Oh my god.
Yep.
They don't know how to exactly push on forward. Fury's got his hands on the shotgun, and ApeGod is just looking to find that first entry. He actually does so as well. The entrance is now found, and if Raven Esports won, they can instantly pounce on top of the opportunity. Another man, or the last man, is standing in that one single room upstairs. And even he is still alive somehow at the skin of his teeth. One Blade did third party this entire fray, and One Blade is now here to shut down the players of Raven Esports. But Raven Esports, they put the final nail in the coffin against God's Reign. Even Reaper gets taken down. Now for Raven, it's just down Hulk. One last man against the 4 standing players of One Blade, and I don't think so he can stand a better chance in this fight. Anonymous overextends, gives his life away to Hulk, and now Hulk once again brings his team back in the race. There's a potential chance that Raven Esports can pull a comeback in this fight.
There is a potential chance, but this 1v2 needs to be converted right now, as the res is being given to the other player. Hulk will have to move forward. He's got to change his directions. His West not having a lot of HP out there, so not a lot of armor he can work with. And now the third player is also back up on his feet. 3 different rifles you've got to deal with. Tries to pre-fire the shot over towards the door, and the player will try to wrap around from the other side, and through the window is where Kana find a perfect opening with the Honey Badger. And now Global Esports want to fourth party this entire fight. And if you look at the map feed, Aiku Soul have also joined in the action, and there's also NTT moving in the same direction.
Oh, it's the cursed compound, and it's the day 1 of the grand finals too. Teams want to set up a better lead in the overall standings, and that's why they're looking so desperate to grab any sort of points in the power play. And I like that too. And the best possible way you can try and secure these type of points are with a third party. Because that's also going to guarantee that you're not going to get instantly eliminated from the game if played properly. Entity, yeah, one man got way too close to Slug, and he instantly backed away. But the call-out's now being converted. And that's where Entity, they try to place themselves against the players of Global Esports, especially Slug. Slug's on the move because it realizes he's seen the entire team of Entity in the front. It's better to just back away and play with the team now.
Good decision coming in from Global Esports. Good call-outs being given, but at the same time, discipline. You know, there's quite a lot of players. He's already outside in the open, but in the meantime, Aiku Soul firing a few shots. Some has been taken down, so Arcelin tries to trade, but will be taken down by Manya. That's the IGL versus IGL battle, and now Global Esports are on the back foot in this fight.
Oh, that's a big blow. IGL taken down. That's rough. Aiku Soul with the advantage, and not just a small advantage, it's a major advantage in the fight. Manya's getting sprayed down. Beast was able to find a few shots connected, but not more than that. Arcelin gets confirmed by Same. Aiku Soul with the advantage in the fight already, and nicely done. Even Beast gets dropped down. Manya, this man's an absolute beast. beast. And look at IQ Soul. It's a complete different pace from this team. I told you. This team was always hiding something in the back, and now it's time for them to showcase their prime gameplay. And within a flash, the entirety of global esports, they have already collapsed. Who would have thought this is going to be the start for the grand finals?
That is definitely not the start they were looking at, but again, I still remember the words that you said in the opening segment itself. You mentioned how global esports is a team that starts off slow and then picks up the pace. Now in the grand finals, I'm expecting them to slowly and steadily pick up the pace as well. Maybe just a starting fumble, but IQ Soul on the other side though, they've managed to bring in such a great beginning to themselves. But Entity right now, by the few shots out there in the open, can they get a knock is the question, and no is the answer.
Exactly right. I mean, as I mentioned, IQ Soul, they always like to start it off slow. That's
True.
been their main classic playstyle. They do not like to show off in the league stages where it does not matter a lot. The only thing that matters in the league stage or the starting phase of the tournament is for you to qualify to the grand finals.
True.
And once you qualify in the grand finals, that's when you try to show off what you've got. And that's what the boys are doing right now. I mean, look at the way they took the fight. It was so flawless. None of their men took any sort of damage, while Manya was able to shut down 2 players single-handedly. Arsalan was found in that duel, then later on he struck down another player with the shotgun, while Global Esports, the boys were just left driving.
And that was a big problem for their side. But right now, my question is, how are we going to move forward with these situations? But ladies and gentlemen, let's throw to it.
What's up everyone, welcome back. This is Master Series Season 3 Hot Seat और मेरे साथ इस सीट पे तो नहीं बट हमारे साथ जुड़े रखने के ओनर सर जी, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वेलकम। अभी इट्स वेरी फास्ट पेस एक्शन, ये लाइनअप नया था, आपको लग रहा था फाइनल तक पहुंच जाएगा इतनी आसानी से?
हाँ, मेरे को कॉन्फिडेंस तो था कि इन लोग फाइनल तक पहुंचेंगे एंड आई एम वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट कि इन लोग टॉप 3 प्लेसमेंट तो ले ही लेंगे बिकॉज BGIS के बाद इनमें व्हेन दे सॉ द कंपटीशन लेवल एंड दे रियलाइज कि यार ये कंपटीशन इतना भी टफ नहीं है. So it is something like a challenge that they want to do, is that they want to increase the position every tournament. So last time third I BGS में, this time they are aiming for the trophy, and of course making sure that we prepare for the next official tournament also.
Your team are top rated teams जिन्होंने playoff skip करके सीधा grand final में आया. आज के time पे कितने % chance है कि trophy रखने के boot camp जाएगी?
Players तो बोल रहे हैं काफ़ी high chances है, but I don't want to jinx anything. I am saying it is still a 50-50%. It all depends upon the momentum and the mentality of the players. And हम लोग का pre-match भी एक अच्छा meeting भी हुआ, बात भी हुआ, and everyone's motivated. No one's scared. That is the best thing I can see in this team. Otherwise मेरे जो भी previous team थे सबको ideas ये था कि हाँ top 4, top 8, top 9 ऐसा खेलेंगे. But with this team it is always about the trophy.
Super done. Thank you so much शारंग भाई, आप मैच देखिए. बट यस, अब सीधा चलते बॉयज पे कास्टिंग टेस्ट पे. इंस्टेंट
This pack of wolves is indeed a force to be reckoned with, and that was the owner of Reckoning Esports, a team that's been doing so good so far in the Season 3. And not just in this tournament, Reckoning Esports has been playing really good in the officials as well. This is a lineup that has brought up so many promises, and slowly and steadily are living up to those as well. But for now, focusing on this fight, WSP up against the players of Carpadium. Usually these guys go for a drop collision and Pochinki, but this time we did not see the battle break out instantly. Instead, it took a bit of that timing. But Team Tamalas up against the players of Aiku Soul, and Aiku Soul unfortunately losing out on the players. Now this will be a tough pill to swallow for the fans.
Just a few more seconds remaining for the power play itself as well. So Team Tamilas getting those crucial 4 points up on board, taking a couple of players out of Aiku Soul's lineup.
But here's the crazy part though. Here's the crazy part. Even if you just get 8 points in the first game, that's still more than enough. It's a really great start for the grand finals. That's what I think.
True, I would agree. Because getting those 8 points, 10 points, that's going to be again back the average of you getting every single game to an average point of 10. I think so. That's actually a pretty solid start. But at the same time, I'm also looking at all the other teams that are going to get such a humongous head start in this situation. For example, One Blade. I mean, that team went in for a perfect third party into those cursed compounds and then eventually got 10 crucial points.
I mean, speaking of those 10 points, One Blade, with the way they played that entire first fight, it was quite remarkable. Knew exactly when they want to collide towards that compound. They pushed up, strike down the team that was standing against them, Later on, a few more teams came on forward to try and third-party that entire scenario that was occurring in front of them. They unfortunately failed because one blade backed off in just the nick of time. But unfortunately, Anonymous should not have been the casualty in that entire moment. He overstepped the boundaries, and that's where he messed up.
True. I guess getting just a bit too confident out there. But it's absolutely fine. That's still a pretty solid start, though.
Oh, yeah.
The question is, can they convert it into a good position? Because if that is going to be the case, it would mean that they have got a perfect beginning to this grand finals. Being the team that qualified on the last day of playoffs and then having such a massive start is a big, stark statement.
Hands down. If they even get somewhere closer to that top two, that's really good. And if you are getting closer to the top two, at least get 1 or 2 more squad wipes, right? Easily.
Yes.
4 or 5 more finish points. That's going to give them 15 finish points and maybe 5 placement points or 6 placement points, depending on what position they end up. So yeah, that's a really great start if they do end up in the top 3. But that's for the other. Right now, focusing on the zone, Reckoning Esports, the Pack of Wolves in the Smack Center. While you see WSB right next to him, you've also got the Apes towards school. And speaking of the Apes, man, yeah, the lineup, it's a completely new lineup, just one single man playing with the same team once again. But this is where the entire storyline just completely flips. Now Team Aru has been quite a good team in the official playoffs that we witnessed in the past. And if Team Aru's opponent, they perform pretty nicely against this one single man Aru, that's where Team OG's legacy will once again be questioned.
True. Even I'm looking forward to see the entire potential, but having a look at the replay where Raven, again, the stalemate was just carried forward for a bit too long, and that's when OneBlade decided to pounce onto them. And then Global Esports were in the fray, trying to find an opportunity to get a good 4th party, but were eventually hunted down by the members of Iku Soul, who were basically there to do the same thing.
Yeah. But as I mentioned, right, the storyline being flipped for OG, a new IGL coming into play. OG is another one of those teams that has went through the major changes.
Yes.
So far, the lineup's doing decent. I won't say they're doing extraordinarily better, but they're definitely doing decent. They've always been there in the mid-pack. They have been making quite a lot of promises, and they want to make sure that this time it's just not going to be that one single point separating them from that championship slot. Instead, they want to be the one to host that trophy. But is that really going to happen? That's the question. OG so far has been struggling when it comes to getting that first spot in the overall standings in the league stage, and not just that, even in the playoffs. But you never know, in the grand finals, it might just be a complete different phase because, as I mentioned, a lot of these teams were hiding their primary playstyle.
I think so. Team Tamilas could have a good opportunity.
Hands down.
With the way how they've started things off, we normally see teams try to avoid the fight with some behemoths like Global Esports or Iku Soul, who they tend to get a bit more aggressive. Team Tamilas is a team that try to hunt them down as well, or not just hunt down, if in case they cross path, they don't shy away from the fight. And even if Team Tamilas are the ones who might lose a couple of members, they make sure to damage the other side too. And with the way how Mr. IGL gives out the calls, he always gets his team in certain good positions in those circles. And I like the way how they entirely play. They go on for an aggressive piece for maybe like what, a couple of minutes when you have the power play, and then after that they go very passive. They keep on playing from circle to circle, get the good positionings, and also pull up some scraps from left, right, and center.
I mean, speaking of Team Tamilas, right? Especially in this tournament, they have been a little bit more aggressive compared to the past tournaments that I witnessed this team play. Now, I saw this team play last in the officials, and Team Tamilas has always been one of those teams that does not really care about the others. They try to focus on themselves. They would try to be in the smack center of the zone. They would try to play for the chicken dinner. They do not really care a lot about those elimination points because they know if they are going to go for the finishing blow in the final few zones, there will be a lot of these opponents near them, and then they can try to go for those eliminations. So that's how Team Tamilas likes to play. They don't shy away from a fight, but they do not like to give a fight to the opponents.
इस बार हॉट सीट पे हमारे साथ है शुभम चावला AKA टीम सोल आईकू सोल के कोच साहब कैसे हैं आप?
मैं बहुत बढ़िया हूँ, बताओ कैसे हो?
आपकी टीम जहाँ उतरती है सर्कल का फेवर है, क्या टेक है आपका?
फिलहाल तो 2 कैजुअलिटीज़ आ चुकी हैं, बट पावर प्ले में हमारे पास डिसेंट पॉइंट्स आ गए हैं। एवरेज पॉइंट्स फिलहाल के लिए आ गए हैं। लेट्स सी मान्या द मैजिक आज अगर दिखाता है तो ये 2 लोग भी पूरी क्षमता रखते हैं एक बड़ा मैच कन्वर्ट करने के लिए।
यू नो मायवी, यू आर अ मैजिशियन इन जोन रोटेशन एंड द टाइमिंग। अभी क्या लगता है कौन सी टीम के सबसे ज़्यादा चांसेस हैं?
ये प्रेडिक्ट करना थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है, बट आई फील थोड़ा रेकनिंग के पास चांसेस ज़्यादा हैं।
ओह, इससे पहले रेकनिंग के आए थे, बट थैंक यू सो मच आमला साहब। यू नो, बैक टू स्टूडियो विद द बॉयज।
Indeed, both these remaining players, Manya and his teammates, they do have a lot of potential and they can definitely go for the conversion for a better game. But once again, knowing the fact that the other teams are so hungry for elimination points, with just a 2-man squad, it hasn't been possible recently.
And with the amount of teams that are remaining right now, let's be honest, it might get even more difficult for them because we still have 12 more teams remaining. It's already the stage 3 circle. We are seeing a lot of rotations happening as well right now. Mogo spotting out the members out there in the fray itself. This could be a good thing, right? Because we normally have seen Mogo play a bit too passive. But right now, since they've spotted out the players of Team Tamilas, they're taking a full-fledged western rotation and will try to enter from a bit north of Ruins where already Carpadium is sitting. So that's going to be a big chaotic part of this entire circle if in case Mogo decide to go. But for now, it seems like they've decided to just disengage. Delta is the one scouting out the area, while Mogo, they've taken out the urban areas of Pochinki.
Mogo Esports, they're always known to flourish in intense environments and sweaty environments. And the grand finals, it of course is super intense and it is quite sweaty. Everyone wants to get their hands on the trophy. Day 1 holds a lot of value. If you get yourself in a really better standing in the overall standings, well then, what else can you ask for? That's the best possible start for the grand finals. You can have a good night's sleep, you can try and practice a little bit more, and try and figure out what else can you do to try and keep that spot pinned down. Because about the day 2, it's all going to be the day of comebacks.
True.
All the other teams on the latter half of the board will give it all they have to try and get there in the first half of the board. If they fail, well then the run is going to be delayed for the day 3 where it's the sprint. And if they do not make it, well then it's done.
One team that always has struggled in those crucial scenarios has been Team 8-Bit. They've also taken an early exit from the first match itself of the grand finals. I really wanted to see something new from their side. Maybe a new start, and I thought maybe they might collide with the members of Team Tamilas though, but apparently Team Tamilas decided for a different pit stop. And it was Carnival Gaming who they had to go up against. Former friends as well. And Carnival also finding a pretty decent start, a pretty good one to be specific. Lost 1 member, still wiped out the entirety of 8-Bit, got those early 8 points. And they are also in a pretty solid position apart from 1 blade to have a big game for themselves. But as much as we are moving over towards those later stages of the circle right now, as has been mentioned, Reckoning Esports, if you look at their positionings, they've got a pretty solid one indeed. It's probably sitting out in the compounds that are a bit southwest towards southwest of the school.
Oh, big mistake from Sarkar. Steps into a death trap and he instantly gets swiveled.
Ouch.
Unfortunate. Tester was ready with the shotgun in the hand, instantly blasts the man on his face. And slow and steady has always been Mogo Esports' game. It's been their way. If the game's gonna be slow and steady, Mogo Esports, as I mentioned, in intense environments, the boys definitely do flourish.
True.
They know exactly how to take it when it comes to that slow and steady gameplay. While some of the other teams, they do end up having those casualties. And that's what exactly happened with the opponents. 1 blade, the boy messed up, but still keep this thing in mind. 1 blade, they've got 2 more players left alive, and they can try and convert a few more points here and there, and they can try to go for the placement game too. Carpadium up against the players of Team Tumulus. Mr. Erangel is barely surviving on any HP. Even now, Max OP is trying to back away from that entire spot. He does catch a few bullets upon himself, but it's completely fine as they whiz past him.
The question is, where are Team Tamilas deciding to go now? Because if they move directly up straight, you've got the members of Aiku Soul, you've got a lot of teams who will fire on you. You can't really go all the way over from north. It's basically open areas. You're going to be fired from every direction. I think so. Team Tamilas could potentially be screwed unless they find a good timing with the third party when two teams are fighting against each other and then they try to enter in that circle. Because right now, Reckoning and Orangutan have got some amazing positionings, and Carnival Gaming have occupied the southern compounds of Rozhok. So just down of that hill. And you also have Team Xpug, who normally just again dropped in Yasnaya Polyana, have not had a lot of maneuver around because the circle was forming near them. They've taken the remaining of the Rozhok compounds out there.
Now the circle is looking forward to play an evil game. That's going to move out in the open, and the only friend is going to be the grass and a few ledges here and there. And if you're not able to play around the edges, if you're not able to play around the trenches, you're screwed. For now, Reckoning Esports up against the players of One Blade, and with just a two-man squad remaining, One Blade cannot go for a fight against Reckoning. But considering they're there inside of the zone, it's all good in the hood for now. One Blade, they can try and play for that survival game for as long as possible. They are trying to face off against Reckoning Esports and trying to delay the inevitable. And as long as the circle keeps on forming on top of them, as long as they're getting those placement points, that's all that matters. But you've still got 12 teams alive in the game, and that's now starting to be a big sign of concern. Godlike up against the players of Team Xspark, that's going to be another exciting fight as you see another fight erupting in front of us. It's Entity up against the players of OG. I think he's right there around the fray, but unfortunately Samraj, he overextends. On the opposite side of that wall, he instantly gets confirmed. Entity slowly and steadily losing out on the players. Even Toy gets knocked out. Equinox and Raiden, the last two men surviving.
There's the full squad of OG as well, trying to go in for their assaulting plays. AK out there, Wiz2. It might be possible that they could wipe out Entity without any casualties. And that's going to be big as Equinox falls on his knees too. It's all down to Raiden. And this man has only got one job: to spoil the game of Orangutan.
Bad call from Entity. A big misstep from the boys. And even the last man instantly gets confirmed. Now that's what you call a hot knife through butter. Entity did not even stand a chance in that fight because they were so desperate to get a better position inside of the zone. But the next circle shifts right on top of Reckoning Esports and One Blade. This is the best possible outcome, especially for One Blade, because they already have 10 elimination points. They're looking so good.
Absolutely, because every team on that south are going to fight against each other right now. Even Ninja has been taken out. The fight between Godlike and Team Xspark, when it erupted, it favored the members of Godlike. They were quickly able to take out a lot of players, but for now, Mr. IGL as well, down on his knees. That's a big problem. Team Tamilas, though, they've got a big foe in front of them, and that's the Wolves.
Team Tamilas, they have a really good spot, but unfortunately, it's being focused by too many teams at this point. It's exposed out in the open, and the only friend is this little trench that's there. This little dip between two edges. How can Team Tamilas play? There's so many utilities that's being poured right on top, but Reckoning Esports, they need to make sure that they're not emptying their arsenal just yet. They need to have a few more utilities for the future fights. Beautiful nade from Fox. It does find the connection, but the man backs away in the perfect time. And now Aiku's Soul up against Carpedium. This is going to be another great fight. Manya's been on top of his form. And recently, the man's been able to drop down of big names. And now Manya up close and personal against the entirety of Carpedium. This will be an interesting fight. The fight flourishes. It starts to begin. But as soon as that happens, Carpedium, they're trying to put up a lot of suppressive fire against Manya. Manya finds one soul left alive. He instantly strikes that player down too. Gets two players knocked out. The third man is quite chipped. And now Manya's getting surrounded from the back lines too. He gets pinched. And now it's time for Knuckle to step in the fight as well. Knuckle steps in, but even he gets taken down instantly. Godlike's Jonathan all by himself around that fray, as even he gets strike down because the play zone. And now it's time for the opponents to try and move up. Aiku's Soul, they definitely did get eliminated, but Godlike, they came in with a perfect third party against Carpedium.
Absolutely, finding a few important points as well, and now Punk has given out a call to quickly move inside the circle itself, as Team Tamilas are still under heavy fire by the members of Reckoning Esports. They managed to barge in, but you've got WSB right on your close right front. That's going to be pretty difficult for you to handle. There's also Carnival Gaming close to the members of One Blade. This is a Reckoning's chicken dinner game no matter what, unless they mess that up, because they've got the circle. Orangutan are the only teams that can pose a bit of a threat.
Not yet. If Team Tamilas play their power position right, this can be their game. When the circle keeps on shrinking down even more, Reckoning Esports will be forced to move out in the open, leave their comfort zone. But that's for another moment. Right now, WSP faced off against Godlike, and it's quite a bad fight. WSP's taking a lot of damage upon themselves. Punk is the last man surviving, and he's constantly tossing in more utilities. Now it's time for Team Tumulus to step in the action, and that's what they exactly do. With a perfect timed third party, Team Tumulus can actually conquer both these teams. And that's what they're looking to do. They're doing so much damage against the foes. They also do get one of the conversion onto Erman. Punk is still left alive in the zone. And this is now starting to be a big trouble. As long as Punk is alive, there's that snake that can bite you anytime.
That to a big win of Swan. This man does not leave any openings whatsoever. But right now, Reckoning, they've got the main big power position out there. So it's going to be important how you're going to deal with it. WSB, after they've lost one member, they managed to bring the second one in. But Punk slowly and steadily moving up forward. That is a big thing. WSB, they do seem to be aware about his possibility. And I think so the footsteps were heard.
Oh no!
What?
This is a big mess up. Punk, he finds the first man right in front of him, instantly clips his wings. He gets the confirmation too. This is exactly what Godlike wants. 5 points converted. They've also got 1 placement point so far. And they're definitely going to keep on racking up a bit more. But a perfect place nade from Zerif is going to put that final nail in the coffin. Godlike shut down in this game. But Team Tumulus, they've still got so much firepower to back up. And as I mentioned, if Team Tumulus play their card right in this power position, things can be really good.
And they are doing that as well. But my focus is still going to remain on what's going to be the result of this fight. Reckoning versus OG. One knock has already been there. Gravity and AKOP's position are going to be crucial. The one who wins that fight might actually lead it and lead their team to victory.
Now listen, the main thing over here is taking a fight against WSP. And Team Tumulus, they need to do it right now. They need to hand out a death blow to WSP and then go for a longer rotation all the way from the left side inside of the safe zone.
True. That's definitely going to be their plan of action. But the question is, when are they going to execute it? As Reckoning right now are busy with the members of Orangutan, and there's also Carnival Gaming just down south of them. That could be very crucial factor as well into determining the result of this one. This very well could be the fight for chicken dinner, and Reckoning have 0 points till now.
Hands down. I mean, Reckoning Esports has been
Oh
struggling.
my God.
And what am I watching? AKOP, a man who showcased so many nuclear performance in the back. He chokes when it matters the most. Classic OG moment. In the grand final, something happens to the players. And AKOP, this one single mishap is going to affect his mindset every single time now. It will be a tough blow to wake up from. And now for Reckoning Esports, at least they got a chance to fight back. A beautiful nade from Hunters gets the confirmation onto both of them. And Team Tumulus does exactly as I said. This has to be Team Tumulus' game if they play it properly.
If they play it properly, that is now, as you mentioned it perfectly. As Dinosaurs has also received the knock from the members of OG, but oh my God, the spray comes in. Hunters almost catching the person. The circle is still on Team Tumulus and Reckoning both, so OG will have to push up.
I mean, look at the way OG's playing too now. Once again, back in the race, a big mishap. What just happened? What was he thinking? Wishshot steps right in front of the opponent. As the opponent had his shotgun pulled out, he instantly gives him that death blow. Reckoning Esports with the big advantage inside of the fight, while Aru is left way too weak, and you've got Atanki as well outside of that zone. Aru gets knocked out of the play zone. Atanki now needs to go for that med strat, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's going to try to catch the players of Reckoning Esports off guard. And Reckoning Esports, they still know there's one foe lingering around in the backlines. Aru is routing the outskirts. OG, they need to go for that confirmation onto one single point.
I don't think so. Reckoning could do that because again it's out in the open. As you mentioned, Team Tumulus will be firing onto that exact line. But as you mentioned about Atanki, yes, Reckoning need to go in for that confirmation too. Tries to jump in, catches one. That's crucial.
Oh my God!
He catches two.
Oh, Gravity messes up big. He whiffs all the shots, and Reckoning Esports, they lose out on the chicken dinner. Now Team Tumulus with the man advantage. No one's going to stop these boys to make that bounce, and that's exactly what they're looking to do. It's time for them to make the leap on the opposite side of this compound wall, and Hunters, he fights the first engagement. He has been surrounded by the foes, and as I mentioned, this was Team Tumulus' game. They played their cards right, they showcased the patience, and they came out on top.
Finding The valuable fight is always the name of the game in these last few circles, and they figured out which one that was, and that too perfectly. They needed to wipe out WSB, take control of the other part of the circle, and let Reckoning and OG duke it out against each other. Both of them are pretty solid, and neither one of them will go out unscathed. And that's exactly what happened in Team Tamilas, finally finding the perfect start to the perfect finals that they're looking forward to.
Team Tamilas, I saw this coming too. I knew the boys were in a really good spot. As soon as I saw them out in the open, yes, they were taking a lot of damage, but they still had a really good spot in hand. Let's move on to the stage with the interview.
Finals का पहला मैच एंड एंड में ओरंगुटान along with Reckoning, Team Tamilas भी उस fight में थी, but it is Team Tamilas that pick up the first chicken dinner, and you guys have got your first chicken dinner. You couldn't have chosen a better time to get this in the grand finals.
ஸோ அதான் டின்னர் ஃபஸ்ட்டு மேட்ச்சோ ஒரு டின்னர் எடுத்தனால ஒரு கான்ஃபிடென்ட் இருக்கும். ஸோ அதை அந்த மொமெண்டம் கேரி பண்ணணும் இதுக்கப்புறம். ஸோ அவ்வளோதான், இதுக்கப்புறம் அடிச்சாடி மொமெண்டம் கேரி பண்ணணும், அவ்வளோதான்.
देखिए आपने मोर और लेस वो कीवर्ड्स हैं वो सुन लिए होंगे दैट जब कॉन्फिडेंस आ जाता है और साथ में मोमेंटम बिल्ड करना चाहते हैं तो परफॉर्मेंस पर भी बहुत ज़्यादा फर्क पड़ता है. ऑफ कोर्स इट मेक्स अ ह्यूज डिफरेंस ऑन योर परफॉर्मेंस व्हेन यू गॉट दैट कॉन्फिडेंस एंड मोमेंटम गोइंग. नाउ do you want to say thank you to Orangutan's Atanki for what he did to Reckoning?
No. Thank you.
Okay. What was your approach when you took the circle?
சர்க்கிள் ஆக்சுவலி நாங்கள் எப்பயும் போல் யூஸ்வலான கேம் தான் ஆடிட்டு இருந்தோம். ஸ்டார்டிங்கில் ஏர்லி ஃபைட்டுக்கு தான் போனோம். அண்ட் தென் ஏர்லியாகவே ஒரு 2 மேன் கிடச்சோன்னே அது ஒரு ஸ்டார்டிங் ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு பூஸ்டப். அதுக்கப்புறம் சர்க்கிளை எடுத்து விளாண்டு ஒரு ஃபஸ்ட்டு டின்னருக்கு மெயின்டைன் பண்ணோம், அவ்வளோதான். ஜோன் எடுத்து ப்ரே பண்ணோம், அவ்வளோதான்.
They got down to the circle, but then they had to be a little more circumspect in their approach. But then they played zone to zone, and it is Team Tamilas that have picked up the first chicken dinner. Boys, summer performance अड़चिंगा, ये तुम्हारी वालाड़ेंगा. Congratulations, congratulations. भाई आज तो 4 मैचेस हैं, उनमें से 1 खत्म हो चुका है, 3 बाकी हैं. We're taking a little break and we'll be back soon.
Battles change, but our squad does not. The result should speak for how hard we fought.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna lead. Now you hear me roll like raw in my beastly mode now. Wow.
Wicked Unleashed.
That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TBS Raider. Unleash your wicked.
Share it, share it, share it, share it, share it, share it, share it.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
ये वही जगह है. क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा.
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India by Garnier Men.
Team Tamala playing their cards right and showcasing a brilliant patience. That's why they were the one to come out on top in that previous game. But then we cannot really forget some of the mishaps that happened in that compound. First, AKOP messed up with that S12K. Later on, Gravity Jod messed up with that S12K too. So yeah, it just kept on getting worse and worse.
I mean, it just seems like the S12K is now becoming a curse for all these players. But for now, the man who was a blessing for his team was definitely Mr. IGL. Talk about carrying the team with the perfect example as well. As we have a look at the stars of the match, to Maxi OP with 3 finishes as the finisher and Kana as the best companion.
I mean, Mr. IGL definitely made the right calls in the final few moments. As I mentioned, playing the cards right is something that got Team Tamalas that chicken dinner. They showcased a lot of patience, and that's why they were the one to come out on top. As we move on towards the highlights, and this is where we will be able to relive the moments on the game 1. The action kicked off in quite an amazing fashion. We saw a big pit stop collision towards that one single compound where even God's Reen, they were in some big troubles. But the fight kicked off between 8-Bit and CG, where 8-Bit did manage to take down just one player, but then 8-Bit, they fell short.
Absolutely, that was a big problem again for 8-Bit, not the loveliest start that you would really hope for. But again, Aiku Soul trying to find the perfect opportunity onto the members, were able to take down Global Esports, and then Team Tamilas actually did a good blow against the members of Aiku Soul themselves. But what a play from Manya against Carpadium. I like the decision of Godlike to try and third party that entire scenario, but my entire eyes were always on that timer because it's the stage 5 circle. Blue is gonna do insane amount of damage to you, and that's what happened.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. With that DBS in the hand, he messed up so big. I mean, you can clearly hear the caster's reaction as well from the Hindi desk, right? They were shouting when they saw that. I'm pretty sure they probably missed it the first time it happened, but I mean, it was definitely something that was game-changing. If he would have hit those shots, Reckoning Esports could have came out on top against Team Tamilas. But moving on forward towards the match rankings, these guys managed to get 10 placement points and a total of 11 finish points. 23 total points accumulated off the rip.
Because again, a couple of those finishes all the way were back in that power play on the side of Aiku Soul. It seems like they've been moving so flawlessly, so effortlessly, just like the tap and pay on the Android devices, ladies and gentlemen. You can easily use that to pay for everything that you want to. Just tap and pay. That's about it. Maybe you would really need a financial manager though, because I definitely do in my case.
I mean, moving on forward towards the schedule. Game 1's done and dusted. Now it's time to move on towards the map of Sanhok, which will be starting in a while on 7:30 p.m. And we know 7:30 p.m. is not that far away. Now these teams do not really have enough time to go ahead and refresh their moods, especially speaking of AKOP, man. I mean, this guy needs to do something. He needs to start moving fearlessly, just like our Philips 1 played, because in the game 1, there was something that was holding this man back.
I really feel that was exactly the case as well, and specifically those missed shots definitely are going to hurt him, but he is definitely going to find a bandage as well, ladies and gentlemen, as we find one for him after this short break.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna leave. Now you hear me roll like raw in my beastly mode. Now, wow.
Wicked Unleashed.
That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TVS Raider. Unleash your wicked.
Shake it, shake it, shake it, shave it, shave it, shave it, shave it.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen?
Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
What's up, everyone? Come on in.
I got 100 ways that I could make you look. You cannot read me, I ain't no page in a book. But there's 100 ways that I could make you look.
Wow.
Make you look. Make you look.
Wow.
Look, make you look.
Just in few moments, Sanhok will be booting up on the screens, and we know what Sanhok holds. It is all known for aggression. Are we going to see another aggressive start because of the plane flat path? The answer is probably going to be no, because no matter the plane flat path, teams can easily move in towards their main designated drop locations. But if you talk about an aggressive start to the map of Sanhok in general, then that might just happen. In the past, we have seen a lot of those collisions happen in Paradise Resort, and not just there, even in towards Boot Camp. But unfortunately, to go for a drop collision towards Boot Camp, there's no team forever.
Normally we would see all of these teams try and take those clash, but right now the teams that are present in front of us, the question is which one is going to jump in that boot camp area? That's a big thing. I think so maybe WSB can try and take that spot.
And how can we forget Camp Alpha collision? IQ Soul and Global Esports towards that temple area as the second game of the day begins. The plane flat path's going to start all the way from Camp Alpha towards Dock, and this plane flat path once again is perfect. The teams are not going to have any sort of struggle to move in towards their designated drop locations. They will be moving there with ease. And off the rip, you see Global Esports and IQ Soul take an exit from that plane flat path, probably wanting to move in towards that temple area, and that's what they're doing. Global Esports, they move in towards temple, while IQ Soul, they've got no interest in going for that direct drop challenge.
Absolutely, because there's also Team X-Park who like to drop towards Hatin, and that's where they're going to. So the third party could very well come in fruition for them. They can have those better weaponries, try and move in, take them down, but I want to see what's happening over towards the Paradise Resort, because normally Team Tamilas as well, they sometimes try to drop around the area between the entire boot camp and Paradise, but right now they're a bit more up north, probably in a position to try and go for another third party on GE and IQ Soul maybe, as the circle begins all the way over towards the western part. So all the teams that are playing in all the way towards the east will have to go in for a big rotation, and right now Aquanox is not in a comfortable position. There's full Carpadium around him.
Yeah, Siege's got a really good start. The centric part of the zone is towards Ruins, and Siege is right there. They've got so much control off the rip. Towards Temple and Camp Alpha area, you've got Global Esports and IQ Soul. Global Esports contesting towards that Temple area this time, not backing away from that drop collision, while IQ Soul coming up with some tweaks in their drop location. And these tweaks, let's see if that's going to help them in the future run, or it's going to bite them in the back. One thing is for sure, if Global Esports, they get a chance to flourish in those environments, they will bite the players of IQ Soul in the back. This will definitely happen, because Global Esports, they've got the high ground advantage. They can look on top of the players of IQ Soul. But Global Esports, they want to move in towards their own merry way. They do not want to face off against Aiku Seoul. Instead, they're done looting. It's time for them to loot up a little bit more and then maybe try and focus on a better spot.
True. But right now, one thing is for sure, that Mogo are not looking in a good spot. Reckoning have basically stolen half of that paradise for themselves. And I'm making sure that this becomes a hell resort for the other side. Destro, a bit too ahead, trying to scout out the area. I kind of like the idea of Hunters picking up the Piccolo skin because he's green, Namekian, and you can try and blend into the environment a bit later on. Fun maneuver coming in. Smart? I don't know.
I mean, focusing on this fight for now, though, Reckoning Esports, a team that thrives under chaos, up against Mogo Esports, a team that does not really like to go for early game clashes. But they have faced off against their opponents in Paradise Resort yet again. This fight will be interesting. Mogo Esports definitely will be looking forward to get some advantage of that power play in the hands, while Reckoning Esports here to make sure that the opponents do not really get a lot done. Speaking of the previous game, CG, they had quite a bit of points as well in the overall standings now. CG is on the second spot, One Blade on the third, and OG and Reckoning tied up on fourth and fifth respectively. But Reckoning Esports for now, they just need to find that one single isolated man that was there in the front lines, but unfortunately they missed out on the chance, I guess.
Right now, the team that have actually suffered a blow has only been Carpadium. And its entity have taken them down. And that's happening all the way towards Kampong. Eastern areas, north of Docks. And if that fight flourishes, that means Orangutan will have a good opportunity to try and go for the third party. But right now, Reckoning and Mogo, kind of in a stalemate with just a few nades being pulled off. Trying to figure out where exactly the players are.
Looking at the fight, WSP up against Global Esports, who's there on the opposite end. Global Esports is a little bit too out of their reach. So yeah, I mean, going for this fight might not be worth it, considering they will just end up giving their position away. And you never know who's going to be there in the back line, just waiting to pounce on top of the opportunity. It's pretty much like you inviting the opponents on your own home turf. Global Esports looking around the vicinity while you've got Reckoning towards Paradise Resort. Once again, they back away. They retreat from that spot. I guess do not really want to challenge the players of Mogo Esports just yet. They want to play in like a well-knit unit. But this is kind of weird, right?
True.
Reckoning Esports backing away from that collision. While they knew that there was one man in the front lines, they could have went for that blow, but they still did not.
Really hope this passive play style does not bite them in the back next time. Because even in the previous game, they had a pretty solid finish if you think about it. Finishing on the second place itself. But still, not having a lot of those finishes is basically what has resulted them in staying at that fifth position with 11 points. Still pretty decent if you ask me though. But yeah, it would be really good if they try and capture a few extra points in that power play. A minute and 20 seconds remaining for that. While a lot of those teams have already decided to move in towards the circle. A bit off center, that's about it. But pretty unconventional for Global Esports if you ask me. Because they normally would like to take control of the entire Camp Alpha. But just because there's Aiku Seoul there as well. Seems like there's been a signing of the peace treaty out there.
I mean, speak of the peace treaty and CG and Global Esports, they're definitely not going to have one. There's a possible fight brewing up soon. CG right next to the boys of Global Esports, and Global Esports playing on the edge. They've got that compound secured. This fight will be quite an interesting fight, considering it will shift the tide of this game of Sanhok into a complete and aggressive one. And this is kind of weird. We expected Sanhok to start off in a really aggressive manner, but instead, It's starting off quite slow and steady.
I mean, it's slower than Miramar. That is what it feels like right now. Fox. There's a couple of players moving around him, and it's one blade. Team Tamil has one blade all the way towards up north.
Okay, one blade. They stop in an unknown territory and they instantly get sprayed down. Mr. Erangel, nicely done. Now it's time to push up close and personal and strike down another man. Oh my god, so much damage was done. And within a flash, Team Tamil, they wipe out the entirety of one blade, just like that. 8 points converted. Such a great start.
Beautiful beginning for Team Tamilas though, but are those 8 points? That's the big question, because I don't think so it was in the power play. I think so they lost the window of that power play itself, and that's why we're only seeing 4 points added to the tally, but still a squad wiped out. Now, since no other team utilized the power play, that means the average is going to move down even lower in this game. Somewhere around 7 or 8 points.
Yeah. Entity did, technically, if you speak about it. They managed to strike down one player of Carpathian before now. The fight, once again, it elongates. Entity. Oh, what a quick turnaround that was. Equinox strikes down another player, and just like that, knows exactly when to peek that corner and strikes down the last standing man too.
Carpathian struggling now. They had a few points in the previous one, but this time, absolutely none. So that entire area now belongs to the members of Entity, who will look to take the entry into the circle itself after a while. As the blue will start to move in the next 34 seconds. Beautiful beginning coming in for Team Tamilas and Entity, though, if you ask me. For Team Tamilas, this day seems to be like their day. They can try and build a massive cushion for themselves, and they just can try to replicate it on day 2 and day 3. But replicating it is the main question, the main problem. Cluster forming around a bit of north of Painan, though. Global Esports, Godlike, Carnival Gaming is also there. And if I'm not wrong, there's also WSB, and just south of them is Raven. Hanzo a bit too close to the others. Could be pretty important if you talk about it, but Reckoning deciding to retreat from the fight of Paradise Resort is really unconventional of them.
Reckoning Esports is someone that is supposed to have the bigger advantage in this fight. But instead, they're the one to back away from that entire area first. Mogo Esports still pinned down, and they do not know what to expect in the future lines. That's why the boys are overthinking too much at this point. Shogun's the man in the safe lines, and Shogun's going to try to play it as safe as possible. The only player from Mogo Esports to make it in the safer shoes. Even Justin is tailing him right in the back. And Mogo Esports, they like to play for that longer game. They like to play for that slow game. So they need to go for a better slot inside of the zone. They need to be somewhere around that centric spot. Sanhok is a zone-centered game.
You've got quite a lot of compounds as well to work around with. But yes, you need to capitalize on that safe circle. And as of now, the position seems to be a bit too passive. Now, God's Reign playing in for their own passive playstyle. Probably going to try and tank the first 2 blues, and then we'll move into the circle once a few teams have been taken down. No idea if they'd be able to. But in the meantime, again, it comes down to how that big cluster will resolve. Right? If you talk about what happened in the first game itself, Team X-Park starting off with a bad start, again, it kind of reeks of what happened to them in the survival of the domination week. But I think so we still trust this team to pull through.
Pretty much. But my eyes are still on 8-bit. All the way down south towards Camp Charlie. I'm not even sure what the boys are trying to do at this point. But Entity's going to be crossing that bridge soon. And 8-bit are ready with a complete field being set up. And it feels like Entity, they're just going to directly walk right into that spring trap. And that's what is happening. 8-bit, they will pounce on top of the opportunity. Here comes the swing. As Entity, they're still somehow not taking a lot of damage. And what am I watching? 8-bit, they fumble up in their own trap that was set up. And Entity, they out of nowhere just come out on top. they're the one to find the first advantage in the fight. And now Raiden knows exactly where the opponent's position. A nade is being set up to perfection. Raiden is catching a lot of that fire from Mighty, and even he gets taken down. Entity, they've got one man as a casualty, but once again, they're just down to the neutral grounds. It's completely fine for them. It's a 3-on-3 fight. 8-Bit, they mess up so big in that fight.
It was Max opening. It was supposed to be him fragging out the first one. Messed upon that spray. Toy pretty low, will get back up. The patch-up was there. He knows the position of Mighty. He is watching in for that side angle. He also sees another player moving up around that same area, so he knows the information of two. They need to figure out where the third player is. I like the idea as to what 8-Bit is now trying to pull, sending one man all the way to the other side to try and get a good flank angle. But if that guy gets taken down, then that's going to be a big blow to 8-Bit.
It indeed will be. I mean, 8-Bit, this was never supposed to be the outcome of this fight. This was never supposed to go this way, but Toy messes up big. The man was out in the open. Instantly, he gets strike down. Entity, the boys are trying to back away from this entire spot. Samraj, the man's left in the back lines. And Equinox is there on the opposite side. Nate's being tossed. They do not know exactly where Samraj is. Juicy is also knocked out from 8-Bit. They need to try and close on up that distance and get Juicy back up on his feet. And that's what exactly Mighty's on. Mighty's on a mission. Equinox holding that angle still. For Entity and 8-Bit, they're just burning through time at this point. Someone needs to prioritize the zone. Sanhok is a zone-centric map.
Where is Mighty going? This could either be the make play or the break play for this fight, because Equinox has got a perfect angle onto him. Just going to reposition a little bit. He can try and find one person too. But the cover is just impenetrable whatsoever.
Oh no, he's not able to find that perfect angle in that perfect timing.
Finally!
But eventually he does! And with that angle, he strikes both the players down. What is 8-Bit doing? Where's the surrounding awareness? It feels like 8-Bit, they're just lacking the main pillars of BGMI.
That's a good play coming in from Entity as well, leaving one man behind Equinox. Found that angle, found that opportunity and opening, and will now move forward to try and meet up with his teammates. But on the other side of the spectrum though, God's Reign, they were doing a good amount of damage as well against the members of Mogo. Blows being exchanged out there on top. Team Tamilas close by them. Could potentially look for a third party too, but Orangutan right now can catch Reckoning unaware, unguarded.
The crazy part is, Reckoning Esports' players, they're quite fragile. They've taken a lot of damage from the blue. Another man gets taken down. OG, for them, it's supposed to be quite an easy cleanup, and that's what they're doing. AKOP, he will be able to get that elimination onto the last remaining player.
Oh, Viz.
And now Vizshot is up close and personal, and Hunter's got no clue that there's a man right next to him. He tossed a Molotov to deny that point, but he was a little bit too late. I'm not sure what he was trying to do there.
Big question marks coming in from the members of Reckoning this time around. Not exactly what we'd expect from the boys themselves after what happened in game number 1. Seems like this was a date with destiny. Orangutan returning back the favor of previous game, and that too flawlessly. Revenge is a dish, best served cold, but OG said we'll serve it hot. Oh, not the scooter, man. Come on.
Anything you can find at this point to try and make that rotate, considering the zone has formed on the northern side towards the Camp Alpha Island. And now this zone is going to be super interesting, considering it comes in with a lot of that surprise package. Team Tamilas, they found themselves quite a clean and neat rotation. Global Esports, even they're on the move towards the opposite side. For them, it's not going to be that big of a deal either. CG, they found themselves quite the perfect compound in the middle of nowhere. Aiku Soul with the high ground advantage, and Aiku Soul will be beating down players soon.
You mentioned about the Camp Alpha area, and whenever the circle forms onto there, that's when Aiku Soul has the best advantage, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. My question is, where are the members of Team X-Park who are also playing in that entire area itself? As right now, Raven, OG, they were just fighting a few shots against each other. Even Godlike, every other team is just gonna struggle so much. And again, Mr. IG's timing is insane, but
oh my god, nicely done. One man knocked out from Team X-Park for now. The second man's trying to get the revival up on the fallen player. Rotate out in the open. Shadow 7 finds himself that bit of a piece of cover. Has found himself that shack. Haiku Soul, considering they're spread out so much, Team X Spark, there's nowhere to hide. Even Ronnie on the opposite side, yeah, Team X Spark in a big pinch. They can't really do a lot. Raven Esports up against the gods themselves. And Fury's able to find the first knockout. Hulk missed on the opportunity. Doesn't even know exactly what was needed to be done in that instance. And Hulk completely messed up. Hulk is also getting confirmed slowly and steadily. Even Aim God falls down. And his confirmation will follow up soon. And that's what's happening. But it's Team Tamilas who's stealing away the points.
I mean, just Team Tamilas things trying to find the perfect opportunity in the meantime. Ninja, Sarang, both of them are remaining for the side of X-Spark. Some out in the open. Big problem, but the drop shot almost catching Sarang out there in the open as well.
The table could have been flipped. Sama is way too low. A nade sails in that general direction, and Sama gets knocked out. But a return knockout on the player is also quite crucial from Haiku Soul. And the knockout's being found at the perfect time. Haiku Soul's getting their fallen players back up slowly and steadily as Manya is there up close and personal. Team X Spark slowly and steadily losing out on the grip in the fight. They can't do a lot as Ninja Chot is barely surviving on a sliver of HP, but even he patches himself up. Sarang's back upon his feet, but a beautiful place nade from Manya will catch another knockout, and that's going to be the death blow handed out to Sarang.
Now Ninja, the only man surviving. Team X Spark again losing their footing against Haiku Soul themselves, and they've got the entire upper ground. Circle forms out in the open itself though. That's a big problem. WSB were also up against the members of OG, but this time Godlike trying to pounce onto the members of Team Tamilas as Mr. IGL blows himself up.
Yeah, Team Tamilas, they're getting eaten alive inside of the compound. Manty's the only man standing with the S12K in the hand, but even for him, he can't do a lot. Gets overwhelmed by Godlike. Godlike with the man advantage, striking down the players to Team Tamilas. That was quite a good strike, but still Team Tamilas, they got away with 5 elimination points, and that's crucial. Add on a few more placement, that's even better.
True. And now WSB will also be taking their own exit. OG with just 1 man remaining are still trying to survive for as long as possible. This game is basically between Carnival versus Haiku Soul versus Godlike. But even Global Esports have been quite silent for a while though as Goblin falls out in the open.
Oh, Haiku Soul, what am I watching? These guys are quite hungry for the elimination points considering they did not prioritize the power play. But now it's time for them to flourish. In the final few zone, Haiku Soul is dominating. But as soon as I say that, it's Carnival Gaming to shut down the entirety of Haiku Soul, and all thanks to their ex-teammate S-Power.
Performing phenomenally against the members of Haiku Soul, who actually lost out on one of their members early on. Now it's going to be Godlike up against the members of God's Reign. It's gods versus gods, and only one will prevail. And for now, it is the members of God's Reign who are having the advantage. As Godlike, they would also have to confirm this fight first and then move forward out in the circle itself, where already the members of Global Esports are present. The only problem they've got is Carnival Gaming.
Even Punk gets confirmed. Godlike taken down to just a 2-man squad. Jonathan and Z-God, the last 2 standing pillars. And both of them will be constantly taking that damage from the blue. Team Tamilas could have had a really good game too, but unfortunately, Godlike pounced on top of them with the perfect timing. And now CG as well. They're getting picked up by Global Esports. What just happened? Where did Global Esports come from? Out of nowhere. They were so quiet throughout this entire fray, and now GE comes in out of nowhere, strikes down the players of CG. And with ease, they have gotten that high ground control in their hands too. S-Power's the last standing man. Well, not anymore. Global Esports with the prime position.
And they also have quite a lot of finishes. I have no clue where they racked up all of those finishes. That's a big thing.
They probably caught all those teams on the southern side wanting to cross on over towards the opposite end. That's where they got the advantage. They stopped the southern side fully from being breached.
Probably.
Nicely done, Global Esports, with a decent amount of elimination points. For God's Reign, even this game holds a lot of value. For Global Esports too, this is going to be that Kickstarter they need. Godlike's Z-God is still going for that patch-up. So yeah, he's just fighting for the second position at this point.
He can actually ruin the game for God's Reign. He's got an angle on Phantom, if I'm not wrong. He can find an opportunity. He can find an opening, though. Patched himself up, and it's too late too. Is he inside the circle? Absolutely not. Gets confirmed by the blue itself, and now it's a stalemate. Global Esports up against God's Reign.
Yeah, the game of snakes. That's what Sanhok is known for.
Oh my god.
When you can see the players of God's Reign just out in the open, prone down. While Global Esports, there's one single X Factor in the name of Beast. That's right next to Phantom right now. And Phantom's got no clue. There's the man on the sideline. Phantom's position soon going to be noticed by Beast, and Beast is just crawling through. Phantom's attention is completely grabbed by the players at the top, but Beast misses out on Phantom. But now Phantom's position is capitalized too. He peeks out, goes for that spray. Global Esports, they play this perfectly, even though things were messed up. Arslan, the last man standing, he does not have the time to patch himself up, and he's still looking to fight back as much as possible. And it won't be Arslan to put that final nail in the coffin. Global Esports, as usual, so good in these clutch scenarios. They get that chicken dinner secured. That's a decent bit of points acquired by the boys.
And Arslan right now stepping up big time for the team. It was needed, it was important, it was crucial. You could use all the synonyms that are possible. They finally managed to get a big chicken dinner for themselves. Global Esports, they needed it one. With the start that they received in the previous game, they were in a desperate need for this chicken dinner, and they got it at the perfect time.
Global Esports, they were also the champions of Season 1 BGMS, and now in Season 3, back with redemption in their mind. Let's move on to the stage for a short interview.
हमें मिलना चाहिए और बहुत ज़्यादा स्लग कंग्रेचुलेशंस चिकन डिनर जो है वो निकाला है पहले गेम में शायद शुरुआत अच्छी नहीं थी उतरते ही मर गए थे लेकिन इस दूसरे गेम में चिकन डिनर आया है पहला सवाल व्हाट चेंज्ड
तो चेंज तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं हमने माइंडसेट चेंज नहीं होने दिया सबसे बड़ी बात तो ये थी कि हमने वो नहीं सोचा कि फर्स्ट गेम हमारी 0 पॉइंट आए तो हमने वही था कि नेक्स्ट गेम कैसे भी करके हम मारेंगे और चिकन निकालेंगे ताकि दोनों गेम का इक्वल रेशियो हो जाए एंड मोमेंटम कैरी फॉरवर्ड रहना चाहिए ऐसा नहीं है कि एक गेम खराब हो गया तो हमने कि चलो भाई ख़त्म हो गया अब तो यार डिमोटिवेट हो जाता है ऐसा कुछ नहीं था काफ़ी कॉन्फिडेंट थे टीम भी काफ़ी कॉन्फिडेंट थी काफ़ी अच्छा हमने खेला एंड कोऑर्डिनेशन से एकदम बढ़िया लगा अच्छा गेम था
दो भगवान वाली टीम्स थी गॉड लाइक भी थी और गॉड्स रेन भी थी फाइनल सर्कल कैसे अप्रोच किया
फाइनल सर्कल हमने अप्रोच काफ़ी अच्छा था मैं पीछे ही था एक्चुअली मैं मर गया था बाकी मेरे 3 टीममेट थे काफ़ी इन्होंने अच्छा कोऑर्डिनेट करके आगे लोग बढ़े लेफ्ट साइड भी टीम थी राइट में भी टीम थी बट ऊपर पता नहीं कोई तो टीम थी खतरनाक नू भी टीम थी हम लोग ऐसी चढ़ के मार दिए पता नहीं कौन सी थी तो उनको जब चढ़ के मारा तो हमको कॉन्फिडेंस आ गया था कि अब जब इनको ही चढ़ के मार दिया है तो फिर चिकन तो कहाँ ही जाएगा
भाई कंट्रोल नहीं है भाई जो भी बोल देते हैं जो दिल में आ रहा है और जो ज़बान पे आ रहा है उसमें कोई फिल्टर नहीं है
बिल्कुल भी नहीं है यार वैसे तो उसको पता ही होगा कौन सी टीम है हमारी दोस्ती टीम है ऐसे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है गेम के बाहर तो सब चिल सीन है
अच्छा सीधी थी बहुत बढ़िया टीम है भाई मैं तो मजाक कर रहा था
ओके एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ आपसे पूछनी थी जो 1v1 फाइट थी इसका ना हर चीज़ पे रिएक्शन आता है मैंने बोला 1v1 फाइट थी कहता भाई क्या
बहुत वो था इंटेंस एकदम ऐसा लग रहा था इनकी एचपी लिट थी एक्चुअली वो फुल एचपी था आई गेस बट इन्होंने जो मारा था
समझाओ क्या हुआ उस 1v1 फाइट में
लाइक जब 20 नॉक हुआ था उसके बाद सिचुएशन अपने हाथ में थोड़ी चली गई थी हमको लगा था कि हम थोड़ा चोक कर सकते हैं बट वो निंजन राइट वाला बंदा मार दिया था मेरे लिए वो इजी हो गया था क्योंकि वो मेरे को मार सकता था फिर लास्ट में जब 1v1 आया तो उसकी लोकेशन हमको पता थी बट मेरे पास स्टार्टिंग से हीलिंग नहीं थी मैं बैंडेज यूज़ कर रहा था जो भी एचपी थी मैंने उसको जितना डैमेज दे पाया पर लास्ट में जब मेरी एचपी एकदम लो हुई थी तब मेरे को कंफर्म था कि उसको मैं आराम से ले लूँगा
जब कोई बात करते करते ऐसे करता है ना तो ऐसा लगता है कि वो सीरियस है इतने सीरियस क्यों नो आइडिया भाई चिकन डिनर निकाला है ग्लोबल ई स्पोर्ट्स ने आज के दूसरे मैच में टीम तमिलास पहले मैच में 2 मैचेस बाकी हैं who's gonna make a comeback एक छोटा सा ब्रेक वापस लौटेंगे
लड़ना हमारे खून में है पिछली बार आंसू गिरे थे हथियार नहीं जी फाइटिंग
Red Bull gives you wings.
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna lead. Now you hear me roll like raw in my beastly mode. Now, wow. Wicked unleashed. That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TVS Raider, unleash your wicked. What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly.
Innovation and you. Philips.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं ये सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
Arsalan was looking quite refreshed. Seems like he had his game face on with the Garnier's Men's Face Wash. What do you think? Because that clutch was indeed quite refreshing, no?
It was indeed, because Arsalan in the previous game, he was not able to fire in a few good shots, right? We also saw in the first fight that he lost against the member of Aiku Soul. This time around, getting that perfect clutch is what his team needed. And them also getting that win is a big thing.
All I'm gonna say is that Slug called CG noobs.
Oh my
That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh
Just a little bit of that salt on top of the wounds, because CG actually lost out on the fight that they were not supposed to. They were not supposed to lose that fight in the first place because CG had all the advantage. They had the high ground to play with, they had a really good cover to play with, but still CG messed up that fight, and it makes a lot of sense why Slug called them the noob word as well, because, I mean, it was not supposed to be a fight that they were supposed to lose. But you move on towards the match rankings. Global Esports with 18 total points, they have dominated the previous game.
Absolutely. Not a lot of finishes in those terms, the only 8, that's again because of the play style that all the teams apparently decided to play in, right? Just going in super slow. This was, I really thought I'm just watching a Green Forest Miramar map. That's how slow everything was. But honestly, there's one thing that's actually pretty fiery and fast. You know the outfit that I'm wearing right now? Oh, I know, right? It's from Instinct First. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to have an opportunity to grab some fun goodies as well, then make sure you check out Instinct First and also the offer that's on your screen right now. You can go and grab some amazing merch as well, because Instinct First is our fashion partner.
Ooh, official fashion partner. I'm not gonna lie, even this cloth feels pretty nice. I'm of course gonna try to get my hands on these t-shirts. But yeah, moving forward with the conversation, right? CG unfortunately getting striked down by Global Esports, and right then and there, the ball was in the court of Global Esports. Even Global Esports almost messed up that final fight. You cannot forget what Beast did there. The man was prone, but then he just stands up because he spotted a few players in the front lines, but he completely forgot to check his sidelines himself. And then Beast got struck down by the man who was hiding in the grasses. He instantly struck down Beast, and then right there it felt like Global Esports was now way too vulnerable.
Absolutely. It was Phantom who was already lying there. Just a little bit of impatience, and that's probably what resulted in that close contact. But I really want to see what's going to happen in the next one.
But you cannot really forget, even Aiku Soul was doing quite nice, right? There's so much more to talk about, but let's move on to a short break.
gives you wings.
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna leave. Now you hear me roll like roar in my beastly mode. Now, wow. Wicked unleashed. That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TVS Raider, unleash your wicked.
Shave it, shave it, shave it, shave it, shave it, shave it, shave it.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly.
Innovation and you.
Philips. Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
What's up, everyone? Come on in.
I got 100 ways that I could make you look. You cannot read me, I ain't no page in a book. But there's 100 ways that I could make you look.
Wow.
Make you look. Make you look.
Wow.
Look, make you look.
The deserty lands will be putting up on the screen soon. We know it's the biggest map the competitive pool has to offer, and teams will be having a better chance to place themselves in a better spot, if you'd like to say. But before we move on towards the game of Miramar, Google Play Days are live. Grab the best BGMI offers now.
Absolutely. That's why I've also moved forward to try and grab a few of those skins that I really like. You can get some fun UC out there. But honestly, talking about some fun things, right? Global Esports are going to be pretty happy with the performance that they had in the previous one. Would really like to replicate all of that scenario. But here's this thing. The map of Miramar is a good map for the sides of Entity. They love to play on this one. They always have showcased better results whenever they're on the map of Miramar.
Yeah.
So I really feel that now is the opportunity for them to also pounce on the target and get top in that leaderboard.
Hands down, even CG can play better, right? And CG, they have been facing off against One Blade and Picado for a while. So I'm not sure if that collision's going to come through once again. If it does, then it will be collision that's not going to pan out that well for CG, because in the points table, One Blade is definitely doing better compared to the players of CG. Yeah, the previous game was quite decent. CG isn't doing too bad, but focusing on the teams that hasn't been able to find their groove just yet, and one of them is going to be WSP. A big sign of concern. In playoffs, WSP was playing so nice, but then move on towards the grand finals. Once again, the performance is back to zero, just like in the league stage.
Yeah, they're facing a lot of struggles out there. X-Park as well again for the past 2 games. This team have been facing some struggles. Their fights have not been looking that pretty. Being finished off by Aiku Soul in the previous one, and in the first one, we really have to check that. But we're having a look at the overall rankings right now. Good surprise coming Team Tamilas right now at first, followed by Orangutan and Carnival Gaming.
Seeing OG on the second spot always gives me nightmares. Off the Season 2, this has always been the case with OG. They always do get towards that podium finish, but somehow barely miss out on that first spot. CG's right there on the third one too. You've got Global Esports on the fourth. And specifically speaking of Global Esports, it is one of those teams that likes to focus completely on the firepower. The only reason why the previous game was won by Global Esports is because the zone formed in their home turf.
Yes.
If that's not going to be the case, then Global Esports will definitely struggle to hand out the finishing blows. They have been struggling to get the chicken dinners. And the same thing cannot repeat in the Grand Finals itself. Global Esports, they need much more of a refined and a reformed gameplay. And now that Global Esports is going to have much more formidable and polished teams to face off against, they need to go for the eliminations. That's what I think.
I would 100% agree, because I feel that the first game in which they were eliminated by the members of Iku Soul is where their confidence kind of dipped a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot, but a bit. So that clearly affected them and their mental in the game 2 itself of the map of Sanhok. But it's absolutely fine. Now they've got the chicken dinner too. Arsalan has pulled a big clutch. This team is also pretty momentum driven, if you would ask me. So their day depends on how solid their players are feeling themselves.
I mean, Entity facing off against Carpathian. Once again, that classic rivalry coming to fruition. Then 8-Bit messing up that big trap that they set up. They unfortunately fell down in their own trap. And this is something that 8-Bit is not supposed to do. The surrounding awareness is completely lacking. 8-Bit is not able to come out on top in their firefights. It feels like 8-Bit is lacking for now in all the aspects of the game.
It just feels that they came to this finals but are not really prepared for it, and with the way how teams are just getting a better of them right now, and this is a big problem for their side. But I still feel that it would be possible for them to maybe get a comeback on the next map of Miramar itself. But overall, the way how entire engagement went, as you mentioned, Ninja Boy getting a knock onto that one player was really crucial for Global Esports Chicken Dinner.
And this was one of those fights where I thought that Global Esports might have just thrown away their advantage, just like CG. Because Beast got knocked out, the man wasn't prone anymore. He was standing out in the open, and that's where Phantom, who was prone in the ground, he strike down Beast. And that's when momentum could have shifted in the hands of Godscreen, but still Arsalan got things under control. As we move on towards the third game of the day, which is also going to be the second last game of the day, the plane flap pad starts all the way from Oasis towards Valle Del Mar. And it's probably going to be a slow start for another Miramar game.
But I really would want to see a pit stop clash coming in between a couple of teams, right? Because Impala, Puerto Paraíso, both of those locations are out of contention whatsoever. So it's going to be a big, long ride coming in for the side of Mogo. And if even Godlike would want to drop to that location, then for them as well. Has Reckoning taken an early exit, and so does the members of Godlike. So I don't think so we're going to see a lot of aggression there. And as you mentioned, it is going to be a pretty slow start. But one place that I want to see some fun action is definitely Picardo between Carnival and One Blade.
Yeah, it is one of those actions that is quite inevitable. CG, Picardo has been their main home turf, and One Blade, it doesn't feel like the boys want to give it up just yet. They constantly keep on dropping on top of the players. So CG and CG, they have been coming out on top in those battles majority of the times. But we never know. We might just see that switch up coming through when it matters the most. One Blade, they might just drop somewhere else. Because OG, they have taken an exit towards Chumacera. That's where they like to go. But luckily enough for OG, this time they do not need to face off against Team Forever because they're not there in the Grand Finals. Raven Esports facing off against the foes in the front. And this fight for Raven Esports might just be really important. Iku Soul, they've already lost out on the first man. It's not that good of a news for them, considering it is Ronnie too. A big chunk of that firepower now has been deducted.
It's all down to the rest 3 players now. But again, Manya has also been looking pretty fiery. So you do not really want to think that he might be the one who's actually making a difference out there. So far wide in the open itself.
Oh, is he even alive? That's my question. But then the Reaper's right on top. And Manya's position is now compromised. He's got his hands on the M249 as well.
Absolutely.
He can constantly keep on spraying down the opponent in the front. And look at the amount of ammo he's got in his hands. That's a lot of bullets. He can keep on spraying for days. Reaper at the top, though, with just an AKM in the hand. This weapon will help him in the close-range duels. Considering an AKM does a lot of damage. The fight breaks out. Manya just jiggling around the corner. Got his hands on the M249 as well. With the big magazine, he can just constantly keep on spraying down the foe. Manya hears the opponents back away, and even he's now looking to back away from this spot.
Again, players just moving together now, both of them. Aim God meets up his teammate, and as you mentioned, it seems like there's been a truce between the players and they are moving backwards. Do not want to elongate this fight, as already it's happening on one of the other end. Team X-Spark, they did go in a bit blow for blow against the members of Global Esports. Got a first pick and then move backwards. Did not want to, again, extend that engagement either because of the possibilities of the third party. But look at the other side. El Pozo is where Entity and Carpedium, both of them are.
Gronny was knocked out, and luckily enough for Seoul, they managed to get the revival on that fallen player. So Aiku Seoul back in full force once again. Before Global Esports, a bad start. I'm not sure what happened with Global Esports, but yeah, towards that truck stop area, Minas Generales, they faced off against Team X-Spark and faced a casualty. OG up against the players. So Team Tamila is a team that's currently topping the charts, and OG looking to dethrone them.
Good opening coming in. And the understanding, right? Because OG know that Team Tamilas normally play with a 1-3 split where Mr. IGL is the man who plays a bit far away from his own team. So if he gets a knock, then that means that you've got a very good opportunity to try and quickly go and claim that finish as well. The members of Mogo right now, taking all the way the roadways of the highways of the edges of this map, probably would want to go over towards Impala, as again the circle is also there. One blade dropping all the way towards down south and prison area. That's exactly where Mogo was also. So I really wanted to see a fun engagement, or at least a fiery start for either one of these two teams, but that was not the case.
I mean, looking at the zone right now, and Godlike, Global Esports, Team X-Spark right next to each other. All it takes is one single fight to break out. One single man be knocked out in the elimination feed, and instantly all those three teams will be attracted towards that one spot. But Godlike, they back away instead. They move in towards Cruisedale Valley. Do not want to be a part of the early game action, which sort of does make a lot of sense too, because Godlike, they're in the top 5 so far, not doing too bad. And Godlike has been playing it as safe as possible, because they know the grand finals will be slow and steady. It's time to adapt.
Let's be honest, apart from the first 3 teams, no one has actually hit the 20-point mark. And all those 3 teams are the ones who are actually finding some good midpoint between power play aggression and positioning in the later circles. I think so that one centric point is something that all of the other teams now need to find. Oh, Somraj. Unfortunate for the man himself.
Once again, it happens. Carpedium and Entity, these two teams just never lose track of each other. In the previous match too, they faced off against each other where Entity managed to wipe out the entirety of Carpedium, and now this time, Carpedium find one single man lingering around. And Pucar instantly strikes down Somraj. His head was on the swivel. Entity now taken down to just a 3-man squad. They can't do a lot. A few scrap points are collected here and there, considering Team X-Spark got 2 finish points, even Carpedium got 2 finish points, and even OG got 2 finish points.
Those finish points are crucial, as you mentioned, because as long as you are in the power play, you'll get a couple of them. But once that is over, oh my god, is that a Winchester that I'm seeing in the hands of Aditya? Lovely.
Not a big fan of that weapon, because I don't even know why that still exists in the game.
हॉट शेयर में मेरे साथ है एंकी बॉट फ्रॉम गॉडलाइक। मैं देख रहा हूँ आपको मैच के दौरान आप जाके पीछे बात कर रहे हो। 2 मैच हो चुका और दोनों में आपने कुछ जाके बात की, क्या बातचीत चल रही है?
सो बेसिकली पॉइंट वही है कि अभी टीम के अंदर रिसेंटली जो चेंजेस वगैरह हुए हैं तो उसके अराउंड इट्स ऑब्वियस कि एक पर्टिकुलर अमाउंट की ही परफॉर्मेंस आप एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हो फ्रॉम द टीम, बट जो प्लेयर्स है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा कॉन्फिडेंट है, जो गलती हुई उसके ऊपर ज़्यादा फोकस हो रहा है, काफ़ी चीज़ें बढ़िया भी जा रही है, उसके बारे में बातचीत हुई, बट अगेन द माइंड सेट इज़ वेरी क्लियर दैट वी आर हियर टू विन एंड दैट्स द ओनली थिंग जिसके बारे में भी बातचीत चल रही है।
माइंडसेट क्या है प्लेयर्स का कि हर मैच में, क्योंकि देखिए फिर से वही हो रहा है, चिकन डिनर मिस हो रहा है, क्लोज आ रहा है बट चिकन नहीं निकल रहा है,
हाँ मतलब इस वाले मैच में भी लाइक वी हैड द मैन एडवांटेज एंड मोस्ट प्रोबेबली जो चिकन डिनर था वो हमारे होना चाहिए था, बट देन गॉड्स रेन के साथ वो 1v2 हो गया एंड देन थिंग्स डिडंट गो राइट. बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे आई फील लाइक कि जो बेसिक्स है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा बेटर है. इफ़ यू सी द स्टार्ट और अगर आप अभी देखो तो काफ़ी चेंज आए विच इज़ इन द पॉजिटिव डायरेक्शन. सो आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग अ लॉट फ्रॉम द बॉयज़ एंड लेट्स सी हाउ इट गोस.
चलिए इनका एक्सपेक्टेशन तो है और बैक टू बॉयज़.
Rawan said, Anki bot in the hot chair. Where's the chair? It's missing.
Oh my god. That's a solid point though.
Yeah, it's a good point, right? It's a good point. We got to try and analyze and deep dive into every single detail that's on the screen. That's what we do. And right now on the screen is the beautiful looking TVS Raider. Iron Man and Black Panther edition. Looks absolutely wicked because it's our official mobility partner.
I wish they also had a variant of that in the game itself for the bike.
Now you're asking for too much, my friend.
I mean, that would probably be something I could afford. But all right.
No, you still can't.
You don't need to.
You think the cosmetics in game are cheap?
You don't need to fire the shots onto me like that, bro. We are not in
No,
the
I'm
game.
not even kidding. Some of the cosmetics in the game cost as much as an IRL vehicle.
What?
Yes.
Which one?
They go in lakhs.
Oh my god. Now that's something that I don't even look at.
Welcome to BGMI, my friend.
Because I know that. Oh
my god. This
Oh
shot,
my
though, from the replay.
Sheesh.
I mean, yeah. Just peeks out, goes for a quick scope, and instantly the man in the front collapses. And that was Ronnie, by the way. Skull cracked.
Winchester for the win, bro. Winchester.
Yeah, the only reason why he was knocked out is because he did not have any helmet.
I know. But Winchester.
You can literally one-tap a guy without a helmet with just an AKM-2, by the way.
I know you can. But a Winchester is a Winchester. Alright, I'm not going to do that
Oh my god.
It's so fun to always annoy you. But, hey, it's the dead phase of the game right now. We're going to be moving
Yeah, the
so
podcast
very
hours.
slow. Exactly.
That's what we like to call these guys. That's what we like to call these moments, these times, the podcast times. And right now, Team X Spark, after losing out on Ninja Jod, a man who packs a lot of punch, by the way. Ninja Jod's been a guy who has been adding on so much potential to this lineup. And now in the game of Miramar, when it matters the most, Team X Spark in the first 2 games, they only got 2 points, 1 point per game. Now that's not that bad of an average. So at the end of the tournament, they will have 12 points.
Oh my god, bro. Oh my
But I'm pretty
god.
sure that's not going to be the case.
Of course.
Team X Spark will, of course, dominate, knowing the fact that this lineup has so much potential. You've got a man like Sarang in there too. You've got Ninja Jod. Every single player in Team X Spark possesses immense amount of firepower. And all it takes is one single moment. That one single game where the momentum instantly swings back in the favor of X Spark. And then the domination starts.
True. But is it just me, or does it feel like Ninja has been kept fairly quiet in almost this entire tournament? Because he's sometimes the first person that the team loses. There's no capitalization on the other side. And it's almost like every other time we know the potential of this man is out of this world. But at the same time, it just seems that they're struggling a bit. Took them quite some time to adjust to that aggressive playstyle though, because in the playoffs we saw some impeccable performance. In the opening week we saw impeccable performance. But right now in the grand finals, seems like they've been going down the same hill of survival week and domination week. God's Reign spotting out a long lost rotation of Carpe Diem probably. Or maybe it was Raven.
I mean, look at what Godlike is doing, pulling back towards Reckoning Esports. Now, I'm not sure how good of a fight that's going to be for Godlike, but for Reckoning Esports, they thrive in chaos. Towards that Al-Azhar area, Godlike will definitely have the high ground advantage. But the first knock is something that's going to swing the tide in either of their favor. If Reckoning Esports finds the first knock, well, the fight will be theirs. If it's Godlike to find the first knock, the fight's theirs. But Reckoning Esports, they back away from that direction and try and breach in from that northern side. Now that's quite mature.
I agree that is a mature decision, but at the same time, it just feels that Reckoning are kind of avoiding a lot of those early fights, which they normally would take if it was Survival Week or Domination Week, and they would come out on the top. And that was the main reason why they were on the first position itself, above Global Esports.
As I mentioned, welcome to the Grand Finals. The strategy will be flipped completely. All the other teams will be playing it super passive, super tactical, and that's how you need to adapt accordingly. Raven Esports too, look at this team. They were playing so aggressive, right? Hunting down bounties, they took down Team X Spark as well. But now look at Raven Esports, playing it pinned down towards this entire graveyard area. They're looking pretty comfy for now though. In the smack center of the zone 2, there's team accumulating right next to them. This might just be quite a death spot. But you never know, if Raven Esports do get their hands on the vehicles, then they can easily rotate out of this spot with these. Aiku Soul, even they're looking to breach inside of the circle, playing on the edges for now. You've got God's Reen towards San Martin. Once again, they haven't moved an inch yet. Entities, another player gets caught. And it's Raiden this time. It's Carpedium once again taking a fight against Entity. I'm not sure how this rivalry always comes into fruition, but no matter where these guys move, they always find each other.
It probably is because of the similarity of the mindset which Somraj and Pukar has in terms of IGLing and the rotations that they pull.
I mean,
again, good friends playing for a long time.
Yeah. We're talking years over here, man. So they know exactly how Somraj thinks. They know exactly how Somraj likes to approach the zones. And I guess that's why Carpedium is catching the players of Entity off guard, considering they know they've got the constant advantage.
True.
And now Entity's just backing away towards that northern side where Aiku Soul is camping. And that's where Entity can be caught off guard now. Aiku Soul is being the guardian angel off the northern side. Or at least a little bit to that northern side.
Here's the thing. It might be possible that Entity might survive from that one, but a fight might break out between Aiku Soul and the members of Carpedium themselves. It is possible. As again, teams would be rotating in from close by. Oh, Aiku Soul, have they heard the vehicles of Carpedium? Is a big question. Because it seems like they're actually going in for the chase on the members of Entity. Some easy points is what they want to grab, and Entity are trying to take the entrance from the western part of Hacienda del Petron.
Yeah.
They're trying to camp out there.
I told you, Aiku Soul's going to be the guardian angel off the northern side, and that's exactly what's happening. Entity will probably clash soon enough, and that's what happens. First man spotted in the front, that's Toy, and he's taken a lot of damage upon himself. The spray came through. Aiku Soul unfortunately wasn't able to find any sort of opening. Entity's already taken down in just a two-man squad, so this team's way too fragile. They can be broken down anytime soon. And now Toy's capitalized as well. Shots are taken against the man, but no connections found. Luckily enough, Toy will escape.
As of now, that is. For how long is a big question, as they are all the way out trying to escape in the blue itself, and Aiku Soul do not want to let them go.
No way.
Hunting party, my goodness, that's the bad thing.
Oh my god, out in the open with just a buggy that's smoking, and the tires can be busted too, and that's exactly what happens. A tire pops, and Aquanox as well with it.
Now they only have got one more man to take care of, and that is going to be Toy. Let's see how much Aiku Soul toys with him, though.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The entire team's getting toyed with right now.
True.
Feel bad for Aquanox.
Unfortunate.
Man got into a buggy, and then it's just a firing squad firing against that one single buggy, where the tire gets popped, and then Aquanox himself gets popped later on. But yeah, Hector out in the open. The man's not going to stand a chance. Hector gets knocked out, but unfortunately the elimination is taken by Mogo Esports.
True. Mogo Esports finding that opportunity to steal that one pickup. Team Tamilas as well are close by. It's Carnival Gaming now. I just want them to try and find Global Esports and probably reply to what Slug said. I'm never forgetting that.
Yeah, I mean, CG's playing their own game though. True. They're playing for the big game here. They're playing for the longer game. You've got S-Power, Neo standing right next to each other. For CG, even they're facing their own troubles. Just look at the map. There's not even a single part of the map that's not being covered by the foes. Every single part is being covered by some or the other team.
Yes. Circle moving in a bit more towards San Martin and Power Grid. Graveyard as well. Bit of it is inside that. We're gonna see a color palette being formed now. A lot of those teams still alive. In fact, all of those teams still alive. Just a few members being lost here and there. 3 for Entity, Xpark, Global, Carnival and Team Tamilas losing 1 each. And all of that, most of that, happened in the power play itself. Carpedium though have got 3 points for themselves. Now trying to slowly give themselves a bit of a cushioning as to move up. But I want to have a look at the teams who are all the way down south, right? 8-Bit, Godlike, you've got Carnival Gaming, who will try to take that entry by doing the big rotation, and now they're either going to encounter Orangutan or they're going to encounter One Blade or maybe Carpedium, and you do not really want to go directly towards the northwest because that's the territory of Haiku Soul.
I mean, speak of that, and there's so many teams looking to breach in from that southern side. Oh, there's definitely going to be that rotation clash soon. And then third parties after. Third parties expected. You need to go for elimination still if you want to have decent points at the end of the game. Just getting a chicken dinner isn't going to cut it because you only get 10 placement points. So you need at least 5 or 6 elimination points at the tops to get a better standing in your hands. The first spot in the overall standing holds 28 points. And to topple that over, if you're all the way at the bottom, you need at least more than 20 points to keep yourself somewhere in the top 3. And right now, Carpedium up against Entity Toy. Once again, how does this even happen?
Don't ask me.
Once again, Toy's back right to their nemesis. And this has been a problem from the start. Carpedium and Entity, they have been clashing against each other. The fight goes both ways. It's all about finding the first knockout. If it's Entity finding the first knock onto Carpedium, then the fight instantly swings in their hands. If it's the opposite way around, well then, that's what happens. But for now, Toy, under the crosshair, nowhere to go, the man's pinned down, and slowly and steadily suffocating to his death. Reckoning Esports, it's an uphill fight. It's not going to pan them out in that well of a fashion, so it's better to just back away, that's what I think. And Gravity Jod, giving his presence away, Haiku Soul to back away to try and unite with each other.
Again, if this fight would have broken out, GE would have gone in for a third party. They can hear all that commotion, they will know it from the finished feed itself as to what's happening. But one thing that I really like is the positioning of God's Reign themselves. A bit off center, but it's absolutely fine. They've got the high ground, they've got the drone view, know everything that's happening all around them. They've got full information of every single place. Orangutan are just trying to gatekeep the members of 8-Bit as the fight breaks out, but that's the first pick, maybe not. Mighty, super low in that HP, and it's a time for OG to pounce as the nade finds Mighty, and it's down to just 2 players in this compound.
Oh man, OG tossing in the Molotovs. As now the opponents are facing too much issues. 8-Bit slowly and steadily once again losing the grip in the fight. As Aditya, he pulls out the shotgun and he's trying to spam away, but he's not able to find even a single bit of connection. Once again peeks through the window and Aditya's taking too much damage in return. He now backs away at the top. Aditya's got too many guns facing against him, and what can he do to get out of this tricky spot? He's in a big pickle. 8-Bit, as the time keeps on passing by, the boys are losing the fight, and that's what's happening. Another man gets knocked out, Team OG. They're now on the verge of clenching their fists. As 8-Bit, they're being choked. Aditya at the top, he's got his hands on the shotgun. All it takes is one single knockout to change the tide of this entire fight. Max knocked out, Juicy's still up and alive. Aditya can be the game changer here. He's got really good position. And the shotgun can be something that can be his best companion. He pulls out the shotgun, but unfortunately Aditya gets knocked out. It's not too good. 8-Bit No matter what they do, things are not looking in their favor, and now Juicy is trying his best to give a tough fight to the opponents. Two players get taken down. OG, tables are being flipped against them slowly and steadily. Juicy backs away. He wants to get the revival onto Mac, and if this revival comes through, this will be insane. AKOP making that pounce on top of Juicy, and he squeezes Juicy.
Perfect play coming in from OG, but Juicy as well, catching one person in all of that mix. Pretty important on the other side. Carnival Gaming were taking a fight against the members of Mogo. All the way out over towards the blue, and that was probably the end of Mogo as well, because Carnival were able to wipe them out. Beautiful play coming in from CG. While on the other side, over up north was where a big cluster of teams is forming, where Global Esports also given a knock to one of the players, but a lot of teams now fighting against each other, and Global are actually fighting on two different fronts.
Raven Esports, they're taking too much damage. Unfortunately, Raven Esports, they're on the lower ground, so yes, it will be a disadvantage that comes with it.
What a nade from Venom! Such a long one, landing in beautifully.
Yeah, God's Reign, classic shenanigans. And even the Fallen Man's back upon his feet now. God's Reign with this high ground advantage. They're like a turret. That's impenetrable. God's Reign can keep on moving up with the same flow. They do not have a lot of elimination points, but they can definitely get so much information, which will help them pave a better path in the future.
That's what I mentioned about the positioning. Mentioned it a while back, that God's Reign are the ones who've got a drone view of the entire area. They can have so much information, so much intel. And they're also trying to catch picks left, right and center. Entity Toy though was able to catch one person of Carpadium, but the answer back was there. But Carnival Gaming now want to join into the action as well. They want to try and third party that fight. As there's also the members of Orangutan out there who will try and go for that retreat. Pucar out in the blue, taking a bit of damage. That's a big problem for the side of Carpadium as they're losing members.
OG! They are being camped, but still Pucar in the front. The man is slowly and steadily getting done, and that's what happens. Unfortunately for Carpadium, they were taking so many fights, but the amount of fights they took, all of them were against Entity, because the fight began, disconnected, it once again began, it disconnected again, so it felt like Carpadium was challenging a lot of fights, but he was actually just against one single team. And now for God's Reign, it seems like it's God's plan. They've got the high ground in the final zone. They've got so much advantage, they've got so much utilities to back themselves up, and they also have the information. That's the main thing. Intel is the most important thing to have in the final few zones, and that's what God's Reign has.
And as you mentioned as well, on the back of that intel, this team was also able to take down the members of Team Tamilas too, catching a couple. And there was also Team X-Park who went in to take that fight. And again, there was no hard cover as such coming in from this side. You don't really have a lot of ways to rotate out of this position where Team X-Park actually is, as God's Reign take the fight. Spray God taken down on his knees. Will be confirmed as well by Fury, but he gets a return knock as well from the other side. WSB in the house. And Venom, he's out there watching a front of his own.
Oh no, for God's Reign. They've got every single thing working for them. Fury's knocked out for now, but once again, is the confirmation really going to follow up considering they've got the highest peak? That's going to be no. CG up against the players of WSB, and Xerath, he's facing off against the opponent. The man reveals himself, and Xerath is now making the pounce. The shotgun in the hand dishes a lot of damage against Death's Power. Another blow is going to be the finishing one, and that's what happens. CG, they have been wrapped up in a sheet and sent back home, but look at OG. They've made the pounce on top of the players of God's Reign, and God's Reign are slowly and steadily crumbling under that pressure. OG is doing a really good job on applying that constant pressure up against the players of God's Reign, but Venom needs to go for a miraculous play. He needs to strike down at least 2 players. He's got the highest ground advantage.
Moving so far up forward as well, chasing down the member Venom as he's being fired upon from the other direction as Egod takes him down. OG pushing all the other players to their uncomfortable spots as Z he was able to get a perfect knock onto the guy. And as you mentioned, his power as well was taken down early on. So Carnival Gaming losing themselves in this fight. They were struggling either ways to try and get into that circle. Team X-Park though, they've also lost a couple of members. God's Reign, Fury goes down to the members of Reckoning. Hunters finally finding an opening. It's like all the fights are happening which we cannot really see because of the ridges.
That's what Miramar is known for, right? The lands are exposed, but at the same time, you've got a few ridges to play around with, a few trenches. And those trenches can give you a shallow home.
Shallow home? That's
Yeah.
what Sobe jumped into.
But I'm talking about a home that can be easily blown up. That's what I'm speaking of.
It's just a nade inside and you're blown to smithereens.
That's not what I mean, but I'm pretty sure the viewers understand what I meant to say there. But Godlike now up against the players of Iku Soul. Now this compound is pretty weird, I'm not gonna lie. It's so scattered. A nade being tossed, Soulmate gets caught. And now Knuckle is right there in the smoke too. The man's ready with the cook on the nade. But if one single nade squeezes in from Godlike, Knuckles' lifeline will be cut off. Godlike, they've got the advantage exactly the way they need it. It's a 3-on-4 fight, and they can try and execute the players of Iku Soul whenever they want. And the duels can be easily isolated too, considering Knuckle is right there in the front lines. But Godlike still do not have the exact confirmation on the remaining players. And that's why they cannot take the measures just yet. And here comes the push. Admino is going to be the man to lead the pack as Z-God gets knocked out with a beautiful place nade from Knuckle. And that knock is still going to be there. Knuckle is doing extreme amount of damage up against the players of Godlike. And what just happened? Within a flash, the entirety of Godlike, they have been eliminated from the game.
That was a massive mess up coming in from the members of Godlike. They had to bounce onto them, but we'll talk about that in a while as AKOP finds a good pick as well. They're up against the members of Reckoning who are playing in a split of 2 and 2. Up out there on top, Piper showing his head, but the shot's going a bit afraid. Raven was also confirmed a while back itself. Gravity Jod pretty low in that HP, but Reckoning need to move inside that circle. It's in the no man's land, but the closest ones are orangutans.
OG with 9 finish points, looking pretty attractive, considering they are the one with the most amount of finish points and also alive in the game, cooking with 3 players. And now OG, they've got the peak in their hands too. The highest ground advantage, exactly what they need.
Okay.
I thought God's Reign for them, this was the God's plan, but unfortunately it's being flipped against them. And now the Apes, they're on the rise. 3 Apes at the top while Reckoning, the Wolves, they try to make sure that they're shredding through them. But Reckoning do not have a good position. Shotguns in the hand, holding the underground. And unfortunately, the Apes, they do not have a great start to this fight. The shotguns are shredding through the flesh as Aru's taken down way too low. A beautiful nade from Viper. They should be able to catch the knock, and that's exactly what happens. Perfectly done from the guys as the revival's gonna come through from the Apes. And now OG's back up to a 2-man squad. Utilities are being tossed to perfect spot, but even the repositioning from OG's perfect. But another Molotov gets tossed, and it's gonna find the exact spot that he needed to. But what a drop shot coming from AK. He drops from the top, and he strikes down 2 players.
Beautiful elimination coming in. Massive play from AKOP, and the step up is humongous. But this game seems to be the lifeline for Iku Soul as they've got the perfect spot out there. WSB now are just trying to wrap around them. Nades being tossed in, utilities are there. But how long can Iku Soul stand up is a big question. 2 players of WSB a bit wide apart, and AK is the only one. He's the only X Factor as now all the players will be pushing up. This should be a chicken for Iku Soul as they find the first opener onto Arman as well. It's down to just Seraph and AK versus the entire team of Iku Soul.
Now it definitely is a chicken dinner for Iku Soul. Manya's doing too much damage against WSB. He's shredding through their flesh. The West's not able to carry on the bullets, the damage reduction's not there, as WSB, they seem pretty vulnerable. Another man peeks out, and he will be ran over. That's the death blow handed out from Iku Soul, as now AKOP is going to be the last man. The man with the judgment in his hands. Iku Soul now taken down to just Knuckle. There's another man in the back, but Knuckle's the one to lead the pack. The zone's out in the open, and no one's got their hands on the zone just yet. AKOP's too exposed, and he will be isolated and eliminated. Haiku Soul, a beautiful chicken dinner on the game 3 of the day.
Massive performance coming in and a big step up from AK. Seems like the bruises of the map of Erangel were finally washed away on the map of Miramar. But what a game from Haiku Soul. They had to stop just one big push, and that was of Godlike, and it was a humongous mess up of Godlike. They tried to pounce onto them. They were tossing the utilities, but none of them actually went in through those compounds apart from the one that went in on Some. And eventually, they just made a pounce in the unknown territory, and the opener from Nakul was impeccable. And with that, Haiku Soul getting the chicken. Ladies and gentlemen, let's throw
Haiku
it to
Soul
Sudhir.
picking up आज का तीसरा chicken dinner, and what a match they've just had. Nakul, firstly, जो सब लोग बात कर रहे हैं behind the scenes, कितने 3 player उड़ाए थे Godlike के?
हाँ.
Was there a point that you were trying to prove, and how did you feel when you did that?
नहीं लाइक ऐसा था कि प्रेशर सिचुएशन थी काफ़ी, हमारा एक प्लेयर मर चुका था, निकालना ही था कुछ भी करके, तो निकाल दिया बस.
रोनी सबसे पहले नॉक हुआ था ना? कौन हुआ था सबसे पहले नॉक? और उसके बाद आखिरी तक फाइट लेना when you know that this could go either way, उस टाइम पे क्या बात चल रही थी? Like, were you guys even talking, or what was the thought behind it?
कुछ नहीं, बस सोचा था मारना ही मारना है, कोई भी हो सामने. वो गोल्डन निकली राइवल टीम, तो मजा आया मार के.
रोनी, तुम जानते हो कि वो फीलिंग क्या होती है, वो जो सामने ट्रॉफी रखी हुई है उसको उठाने की. अब तुम लोग जो हो इस टीम का हिस्सा हो, लेकिन इस टीम का जो ट्रॉफी कैबिनेट है वो अब तक खाली है. सो बिफोर कमिंग हियर क्या कुछ बातें होती हैं, और व्हाट दिस ट्रॉफी मीन्स टू यू, क्योंकि तुम तो यार अपने एक्सपीरियंस से बता सकते हो.
लाइक आप लोग को पहले ही पता है, सीजन 1 में हमने ट्रॉफी उठाई थी, तो गाइस कोई दिक्कत नहीं, टेंशन मत लो. अभी तो 12 मैच है, अभी तो 3 ही हुए हैं, ट्रॉफी तो लेके जाएंगे इस बार.
पाजी के क्लास के टॉपर वाला आंसर दिया ना आपने, बिल्कुल राइट. लेकिन Haiku Soul पिकिंग अप अ चिकन डिनर हियर, सॉरी, Haiku Soul पिकिंग अप अ चिकन डिनर हियर, एंड ये तीसरा मैच था. एक मैच और बाकी है आज फाइनल्स के दिन. वेल, रिमेंबर, वी कमिंग बैक वेरी शॉर्टली.
सबकी धड़कन रुक जाएगी, अब टीम सोल स्टेज पर आएगी. रोक सको तो रोक लो.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna leave. Now you hear me roll like raw in my beastly mode. Now, wow. Wicked unleashed. That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TVS Raider, unleash your wicked.
Share it, share it, share it, share it, share it, share it, share it.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen?
Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
Move on with the post-game segment. We gotta give a huge shout out to Crunchyroll, considering it is the largest India's anime library with over 800 plus anime shows. And not just that, you can watch all of that in your preferred language, and you can only spend 79 rupees per month. Now that's super crazy if you think about it.
Indeed, I already love it. I have the subscription and I watch all my favorite animes there, so you also have to do that. And honestly, talking about anime and some fun finishes, that's exactly the moment that happened between Orangutan and Reckoning Esports as well, right? Because you could technically say OG had the advantage, and Reckoning split of 2-2 was also pretty good. But at the end of the day, it was AK's drop shot that closed the deal.
Now listen, all of that is fine, but what just happened with Godlike? Godlike got evaporated in the thin air when they collided against Taiku's Soul. But yeah, the MVP of that previous game will be AKOP once again. 9 finishes racked up and 69% of finish contribution. With this big game, OG should be at the top of the charts. There's no way OG is going to be down somewhere, because they also managed to secure the 2nd spot.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that one. And honestly, I think so. I'm just gonna make a prediction right now. AKOP might be the standout player at the end of the show itself. But best companion goes to Goblin with 3 rescues, and then Knuckle as well, getting the finisher. That man was the main key of the fight that you just mentioned about Godlike and Aiku's Soul, is because Godlike had the first pick, Some was taken down, and then it was Knuckles' important nade that found the opening for Aiku's Soul.
I mean, for OG, indeed a game they were dreaming of, and finally they get those 20 total points. Not a lot of points, but still these 20 points are going to be massive when it comes to the overall standings. Latter half of the board, One Blade 80 and Global Esports having a bit of a rough patch, especially for Global Esports. I did not expect this coming from them. And how can you forget about Mogo Esports? The defending champions, day one hasn't been their way.
I would 100% agree, because Mogo, we've been talking about this team that they were doing phenomenal back in the playoffs itself. It seemed that the signs of life were there. But after that, yeah, they're kind of diminishing though. And as you said, OG right now topping the charts with just 3 games played, 42 points. I wish they also had 8. So we could have had a perfect average out there. But Aiku's Soul following them up closely. This team has changed their game entirely, and now they've got few of the maximum finish points, if not for OG.
Aiku's Soul on the tail, definitely looking quite solid, and you cannot rule them out at any time. They're also tied up right underneath on the 3rd spot with another team, so that's quite important too. In general, the overall standings are of course going to be looking super fragile, and that's why we like to say day 2 will be the day of comebacks. We still have got one more game to go in the day 1, but let's move on and look at the highlights for now. Relive the moments that happened in the previous game. I'm not going to lie, I thought God's Ring can be the one to seal the deal, but then OG, they made a perfect push, found the exact timing.
I mean, the only problem with the God's Reign's entire play was in fact that 3 of their players were taking 3 different fights on 3 fronts, and they lost all of them. That was the reason why OG also found the opening to push back that one play. If I'm not wrong, that was Fury, and then he was capitalized on the other side by Godlike. So yes, some questionable decisions out there, but it's absolutely fine. The capitalization by other teams were impeccable on that.
I mean, speaking of Entity 2, what exactly happened with them, right? Entity, they were getting picked off not just by Carpadium, even Soul stepped in the fray as they managed to take down one player. Carpadium ended up wiping the entirety of Entity, and then later on Carpadium got wiped out themselves. This fight was quite nice. Reckoning Esports, for a moment we thought they can be the one to prevail, but then one incredible play comes in from AKOP, where he strikes the man who was in the back, and then he jumps down and gets two of those players instantly finished off.
Phenomenal play indeed that was, and he also got one extra finish over towards the end, right? If not for Knuckles off angle, which he did not know, I think so he might have also brought it in to winnable position for the entire OG squad. But we're gonna have a look at the schedule itself as 3 of the games are over. We've had 3 different teams for chicken dinner, and now it's time for the last map of Erangel.
We're going to end the day on Erangel itself. We started things off on Erangel where Team Tamiles were the one who came through victorious. And now the day's going to be ended on Erangel once again. Things are still in a big mystery. Who's going to be the one to take that final game? And if Team Tamiles come out on top, once again, they will instantly catapult themselves on the first spot. For OG, they're in a really critical spot. Holding the first spot is not easy because you need constant points, that constant validation that you are worthy of being the champions. And that's something that might be a little bit demotivating for the players because a lot of that mental pressure gets added on that first spot.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned about that first spot itself, right? Even I remember in the BGMS Season 2 itself, OG were the ones who kind of had that first spot for a time being as well. So it's something that they are familiar with, but at the same time, they've got to cross that one final hurdle, that one final blockage that is in their minds. And that is exactly the thing as well that a lot of other teams right now have, specifically with the way how finals performance is going. Global Esports are technically struggling.
OG, they've got a decent bit of cushion to play with. And this cushion needs to be increased even more. OG, if this single game is a big mess up, we know their position will instantly be taken. This game holds a lot of value for OG. Not just for them, it holds a lot of value for Entity, Mogo Esports, and 8-Bit, and even Team X-Park. If Team X-Park want to be on the uprise, if they want to stand a chance to make the comeback on the day 2, last game needs to be good. They need to have that momentum in the hands because it is one of those teams that is driven heavily by momentum.
And you talk about that, we also see now the players of Godlike who've been performing really well, but that one previous fight up against the members of Aiku Soul, the rivals themselves, they found the first opener and then they messed up heavily after that. So they've got to brush it off and then move forward in this map of Erangel. Because these are the crowns that are unforgiving. And unforgiving are the players of Mogo Esports, who've been having a pretty decent day back on the playoffs, but right now they're on a bit of a struggling phase yet again. But I still trust, a lot of people still trust Restro, and I know you trust Team X-Park.
I definitely do. For some reason, there's this hope whenever I look at Team X-Park. Yeah, they're not doing too good in the overall standings, but all it takes is one single game, man, to flip that script, to instantly make Team X-Park catapult on the first spot. Imagine if Team X-Park get a big 30 bomber in their hands right now. They're in the top 5 with ease, without even making any sort of struggle.
But here's the thing. Normally when that would happen was during the cases when teams were playing aggressive and they were basically letting loose of themselves. Right now you don't have that luxury. Even if you go for a full-fledged fight, the maximum that you can get is that one proper fight, because after that it's going to be a third party onto you. Most of the times that is how the scenario is, and none of these teams are playing as aggressive as we normally would see. I mean, let's be honest. Even in the previous Erangel that we saw, WSB and Carpadium, they landed in Pochinki, but none of them took the fight with each other, and they both moved out of Pochinki unscathed as well.
WSB today has had quite a decent day. Starting it off, they were not able to get a lot of points, but then in the second game of Sanhok, WSB did quite nice. Even in the third game, WSB wasn't doing too bad, so WSB is not in that bad of a position. They can easily be revived in the game. True. And this last game, if they play perfectly, if they play flawlessly, then WSB will be instantly in the race in the top 3. And that's exactly what you need. At the end of the day 1, you just need to make sure that you're there somewhere in the top 3 if you are aiming for that championship spot.
I feel that even One Blade on the other side have been looking a bit shaky. They had a good amount of confidence back at the last day of playoffs.
And something I would like to mention about Mogo Esports, Destro, for some reason, never performs on the day 1. He actually performs on the day 2 and the day 3. When the sword's hanging on his neck. That's always been the case with Gladiators and now Mogo Esports. It's always been the same way.
I would not deny that, because that's something that we have seen for a while. So let's see if maybe the next 2 days are going to be great for him. But before we move towards that, just a slight delay onto this map, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about it. The issue is being fixed very quickly, and we get even more asked to talk about all these teams and players, right? Because as you mentioned about WSB, this team, it either explodes like none other, probably in a supernova, or it just diminishes like a white dwarf. There's no in-between for this team and for these stars.
WSB in the playoffs, they were incredible, outstanding, considering they were ruling the charts for a decent amount of times. Global Esports, for them, the previous game was quite questionable. Speak of 8-Bit, they have been struggling in BGMI in general. They haven't been able to get a lot done. Even the surrounding awareness, it seems like it's lacking from 8-Bit.
True.
I'm not sure what can be done to patch that, especially when you're in the Grand Finals phase. But they have made it so far, so there's something in them.
That's one thing that we also discussed so early on, and we've asked these questions in the interview itself. That 8-Bit always tend to squeeze into the finals, but they just can't quite close it towards that podium finish. So we'll have to see how that will pan out for this team itself.
फिलहाल मेरे साथ हॉट चेयर पे आ चुके हैं मोगो के रॉबिन। और रॉबिन साहब, क्या गलत हो रहा है? क्योंकि आप देखिए 3 मैच हो गए और केवल 2 पॉइंट। ये चैंपियन टीम है, इनको क्या हो गया?
मेरे हिसाब से सर्कल भी थोड़े हार्ड बन रहे हैं, प्लस जो भी ये फाइट पिकअप कर रहे हैं उसमें यानी कैजुअलिटीज आ रही है, प्लस वाइप आउट हो रहे हैं, तो वही प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहे हैं। मेरे हिसाब से तो वही हो रहा है।
देखो, मैं ये बात तो ज़रूर ऐड करूंगा कि तुम आए थे तभी पहला चिकन आया था मोगो को, और अभी बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है क्योंकि ग्रैंड फाइनल चल रहा है और ऑलरेडी 3 मैचेस की तरफ बातचीत जा चुकी है। क्या हमें इन फ्यूचर रॉबिन देखने को मिल सकता है इस ग्रैंड फाइनल में?
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। ये जो टूर्नामेंट है इन चारों ने ही चालू किया है, तो एज ए टीम हमने ये डिसाइड किया कि ये चारों ये इवेंट ख़त्म करें और उसके ऊपर ही हम स्टिक रहेंगे, और मैं नहीं आऊँगा गेम खेलने।
ओके, आप नहीं रहोगे, ये फिलहाल थोड़ा शॉकिंग था। बट लास्ट क्वेश्चन यहाँ पे रहेगा, क्या आप बात कर रहे हो माइंडसेट क्या है प्लेयर का? क्योंकि इतने खराब मैचेस के बाद आई थिंक माइंडसेट थोड़ा ज़रूर लेफ्ट राइट हो जाता है।
नहीं, इसके ऊपर हमने बात कर दी थी कि अगर स्टार्टिंग के 3 भी अगर जाते हैं कोई इशू नहीं है। मेन क्या पता 4th गेम तुमको फेवर करे, तो उस टाइम जो मैक्सिमम रिजल्ट हो वो तुम कवर करके जो भी आज के डे का जो हमारा गोल है पॉइंट का, वो हम कवर कर सकते हैं और फिर सेकेंड डे से वापस पोडियम के लिए हम गो थ्रू कर सकते हैं।
चलिए, दूसरे दिन से इनका कमबैक होगा, बट चलते हैं अपने कास्टर की तरफ, वो इंतजार कर रहे हैं हमारा।
The 4th match holds a lot of value for Mogo Esports, which is of course quite true. But they're relying too much on this 4th game. If this 4th game is not good, then Mogo Esports' mindset will not be in good condition.
Here's this thing, I wanted to ask one more question as to what's the cutoff point that they have thought in their mind that we need to have these many points at the end of the day. Because if it's a task to behemoth to cover up in the 4th game itself, then that means on day 1, yes, they'll lag. So they'd have to cover up for it in day 2 itself, and you may never know how many aggressive teams you'll find or what kind of zone will pan out for you in day 2 itself.
Now here's the thing, even if you manage to get just 15 points in this one single day, that's still more than good enough. Because on day 2, every single team will be super thirsty to get those points. Especially the teams on the latter half of the board, they will go for those desperate fights. And that's where you can take the advantage with the third party. Because this new meta has been revolving around the third parties itself.
True, and that's one of the reasons why we see not just third parties but also 4th and 5th parties come into play. But that's also one of the big points I wanted to mention, where if a team decides to go for a third party, they have to pick a perfect timing to do that. You miss that timing, that means there are 2 more teams now trying to go in for the same thing, and those 2 teams have got a high chance to fight off against each other. We have seen that multiple times happen. One today itself, when Global Esports, IQ Soul, in the first game of Erangel itself tried to go for a third party. They both ended up fighting against each other, and Soul wiped out Global Esports. And I think so in one of the previous days as well, we've seen the similar thing happen all the way up in Severny, where Team X-Park did a good third party, and then it was Vasista Esports who started to fight off against Aiku Soul themselves, who tried to go and pounce on the opportunity.
There's definitely a lot happening, right? It is the grand finals. Playstyles being switched up. Now teams are playing it much more tactical, much more slower.
Yep.
The strategic approach, the methodical approach is clearly witnessed. And you speak about Carpe Diem. That's what they try to bring on the table as well. Before Carpe Diem, it's not been working out yet. Carpe Diem is known for their 4-on-4 fights, and I think so they should go back to the basics once again and try and go for the fights just the way they were playing. For Carpe Diem, they face off against WSB and Pochinki, and you might as well start then and there. Take down WSB, that's going to be a big booster in the points table. 8 points off the rip to start it off.
But the same thing could be said for WSB as well, because this team was looking a bit too polished for the playoffs itself. They started to play really good. Yes, haven't really shown a supernova performance right now, but it's absolutely fine. The team has got that consistency. So maybe they could wipe off the members of Carpe Diem and then move forward with those 8 points. I mean, I still remember the first game in which this team pulled off a 16-point banger. Finished off Carpe Diem and then also answered back the team that actually came in for the third party.
Every single player. They're just waiting for the game to start. I guess just praying to their gods, hoping that the last game's going to be good. For One Blade, the game one was really nice, but then after that, One Blade's nowhere to be seen.
True.
So yeah, this last game has to be a good ending too, right? If Erangel started off nice, then Erangel should end nice too. Entity, for them as well, this game means a lot. Every single player from Entity super quiet. And sometimes, silence is the loud.
Silence is the loudest. True. And finally, it seems like everything is getting ready, done, dusted. All the players giving out the fist bumps as well. But then there's Godlike. And I wanted to ask you, if everyone is praying to their gods, who are God's Reign and Godlike praying to?
Themselves.
How can you say that with a straight face?
We've got the last game of the day rolling up soon. Within a matter of seconds, we will be stepping in to the last game of the day. Erangel awaits. The battleground awaits for the day one to be concluded. For Global Esports, the previous game was not that great. Mogo Esports, they're hoping too much on this last game. But if this last game's not going to be good, then Mogo Esports' mindset will be in a questionable spot. One Blade, even they need another good game to bring that stability back in the overall standings, while OG, they will be having the most amount of pressure because they're holding the peak.
There would be all the other teams' players trying to target the members of Orangutan, trying to target the apes themselves. And this is not the first time this team has been put in this position. They have moved in like this multiple times. But now, this is the moment. This is the opportunity that they need to pounce on. And it's not just them, but 15 others.
The game boots up on the screen. It's time to seize your glory as the plane's gonna hit the skies once again for one last time today. And the plane flight path starts all the way from Georgia Pool towards Norupnoi. This plane flight path, once again, is quite decent, traversing through the center lands of the map. But if you want to move in towards Kamishki, Severny, it will be a tough stretch. Even Yasna Poliana will be out of reach. So Team X Spark, it's time for a duel.
And you do not want to duel the members of Ikusol themselves over around that school.
Ikusol is fine, but they need to face off against Global Esports now.
That's a big thing. That's a big problem. Right now, the members of One Blade as well taking that exit. I want to see where Godlike are going to drop to, because normally they would go over towards the Zaki area if this kind of flight path comes into the way. But it's Entity who are dropping there. Global Esports as well. They have taken out an early drop. They will be moving over towards the shooting range area, and then they'll be taking those vehicles all the way down towards Severny. Team Tamilas taking that early exit over towards the western part for the vehicles, for the pit stops itself, to move over towards Primorsk. Where's the members of 8-Bit? Alright, they've taken the exit all the way around the area of Pochinki to try and fly towards the ferry pier now. Since Ash is not here, that means ferry pier has always been free for this team.
Still looking for Team X Spark though. I haven't seen the boys drop yet.
Oh, they're going in the military base?
Interesting.
No, Repnoi.
Team X Spark contesting a spot where Team Z like to go. And considering they know Team Z is not playing in here, so no Rip Noise is going to be uncontested. Nicely done, Team X Spark. Good adaptation. But only if you're able to convert that start in a good ending. WSB, a big mishap coming. Shikari Jod is going to be the first man to fall down. This is what you call the hunter being the hunted. Carpadium now. Unfortunately, even they make a big mess up. The opponent was not able to see on the opposite side, and that's where WSB had the advantage, but then Carpadium slowly and steadily, even they're losing out on the man number. Now things are back to an equal ground, where Pucar strikes down another man, and Pucar gets knocked out himself. Trades happening back and forth, and WSB could have been the one with the advantage, but then they get strike down.
Oh my god, the history repeats itself. Carpadium yet again. Those back and forth trades were crucial. Arman, he did take an early quick fight as well to the member who was all the way up top. If I'm not wrong, it was probably Gamla Boy. But eventually, it was Pucar coming in clutch. Fierce as well, finding an angle through the window itself. Beautiful play coming in from the side of... Oh, wait a second. Godlike. They're moving it over towards the military base area. Now that's interesting.
Yeah, because the zone's panning out down south, and every single team wants to have a better spot in the southern side as quick as possible.
And still?
Because we know if you're too late to rotate down south, you're screwed.
True.
It's better to be early than late. And that's what Godlike are thinking right now. But they're also going to be lacking severely on loot, and that's another factor these guys need to consider. Reckoning Esports will be having the bridge control in their hands, but before crossing on over, Reckoning Esports needs to make sure that the bridge is not being camped by someone. That's another big point. 8-Bit, even they have crossed down south, so for 8-Bit, it was quite a smooth troll. Moving on forward towards Mogo Esports, directly towards the Snufka military base, they're going to be super comfy. They will be able to get their hands on some better loot.
Controlling all those areas are going to be crucial. Because yet again, I mean, the circle could eventually move towards the any side, though it does seem to be the case that this is going to be a southern end circle. So, what Robin said in the interview is technically coming to fruition. The last game of Erangel may be going for them. But a big cushion coming in for the members of Carpadium now. Getting those early 8 points, wiping out the members of WSB. We've been talking about it. Yes, 15 points is something that you need to probably end the day, but if every other team is also getting those points, then the average that you need to get to move up increases.
What am I even watching? I mean, what are these type of fights that I'm witnessing? Team X Park, they collide against another team in the front, and this time it's going to be in the name of Godlike. And Godlike, they make sure that X Park walk in their trap. Team X Park, they have already spoiled their own game. It's such a bad start for X Park. Even Reckoning Esports is right around the fray. Before Godlike, they have converted 3 elimination points instantly. Nicely done. They've gotten 6 points to start things off with. Exactly what Godlike needed.
Someone did lose their life to Sarang. The question is who? It seems like the member of Reckoning. Yep. That was definitely Reckoning, because now they're trying to hunt down this one last remaining member of X-Bug. And Dinosaurs is out there trying to scout out the area. Has he got the vision is the big question. Should have got the information about him though.
And yeah, speaking of Reckoning Esports too, right?
They're going back?
Yeah, they're going back. And speaking of Reckoning Esports too, I expected to see them in the top 3 in the first 3 games. But they're there on the 6th spot, not that far away, probably end things on a really good note. That's what the game plan is. They've gotten 22 points so far, right? Not that bad. In this game, they haven't secured a single one, so that's another thing. But if you remember, right, as I speculated, and as I gave the advice to the players of Carpadium, started off against the players of WSB. Exactly what they did. Took the drop collision against WSB because they were the most confident fighting it off against WSB. And as soon as the fight comes into fruition, as soon as Carpadium wins, now they're definitely going to be in a much better mindset.
I mean, the telepathy that you've done is insane though. But that was a good prediction, to be honest. Because yes, they needed a big start and they got it after winning the fight against WSB. That has what's been happening for the entire survival week and domination week.
Yeah,
so
they've got 20 points, man. tied up with Global Esports, a
True.
big name.
And talking about that big name, never really expected them to see all the way down at the 7th spot.
Yeah.
Having such a difficult start on the opening day of the finals itself. And talking about difficult start, Team X-Pac only having 2 points right now for themselves. Just sitting at that 12th spot with 10 points, equaling One Blade, who also have 12 after this one itself though. But I'd still want to come back to the same point of Reckoning Esports. Pretty unconventional for them, because they should have got the information that it was Sarang who finished their player off from the finish feed, and then they should have been able to read it that 3 of the players of X-Pac have already been finished off by Godlike. So that's 2 free points for them.
In general, a lot of teams went for that contention towards the southern side. It was a chaotic move. And no one expected this coming, man. Let's be honest. The game just started. Who's going to expect at least 7 to 8 teams down south? It's something that happens once in a while, and it struck down the players of Team X-Pac. Yes, I do understand the players should have played it a little bit more careful, knowing the fact that the circles pan down south. So there's definitely going to be a few aggressive teams who've already crossed on forward. But that's where the communication did not come through, because Team X-Parks' one player was camping the bridge. He was getting that constant intel, but he still did not convey the call.
Communication error coming in, as you mentioned. Big problem. But right now, there's another big problem now. The members of 8-Bit up against the members of Godlike. Out in the open is the fight. As Mighty tries to spray it down. Cars crashing into one another, but not a player down on his knees.
Yeah, I mean, for Godlike, they're facing off against a team that's already been struggling with momentum. And look at what Punk is doing. The man's destroying and shredding through the players of 8-Bit. As 2 of the players have already get knocked out. And Jonathan, even he ejects outside of a moving vehicle. He takes too much damage. Jonathan gets instantly confirmed. Oh, the man was a little bit too eager to take that fight. Jonathan messes up big. And now 8-Bit with a fighting chance once again. It's taken down to a 1-on-2. Punk needs to patch himself up. But the fallen man for Godlike will be back up on his feet soon enough. But Jonathan messes up huge, man. Jumps outside of a moving vehicle. Gets too greedy for that elimination. And now the fight's between Mac and the remaining 2 players of Godlike.
This is doable now. Mac can give the revive. The question is how many throwables do Godlike have, as Punk is trying to create an off angle right now. And the Mac hears it. He hears it all. The pressure is going to be on him now. No way to heal himself back up. No first aid whatsoever. And the spray down is coming in from Punk itself, trying to get that attention onto him.
Mac is messing up big. And yeah, the nails in the coffin. 8-Bit, they mess up big time. This is why you call, or this is why you say, precaution's better than cure. And 8-Bit should have taken that. Unfortunately for 8-Bit, being eliminated once again off the rip like that, it will be a tough pill to swallow.
Hey, we talk about consistency. 8-Bit have got 2 points in every single game.
IQSoul on the run. And for IQSoul, they're being trailed by so many teams. There's Global Esports in the back. There's another team right next to him.
Entity.
There's also Carpadium around that fray. Entity's not in that good of a condition right now. They're being messed around with. IQSoul, they want to strike down the players of Entity, while Carpadium, of course, it's a long-lasting rivalry for them. And they want a little bit of piece of that pie too. And then there's Global Esports wanting to take the advantage of that third party. And behind Global Esports, it's also the players of God's Reen moving up. There's 5 teams in that same single vicinity. And Ninja Boy gets strike down by Raiden. That's a big strike. Global Esports, they learned their lesson. It's better to just back away.
And they don't even have the numbers, and not also one of their top 2 fraggers. So it's a big, big problem, as you mentioned, because Carnival Gaming has also decided to try and take a piece of that pie. This is a humongous tornado building up here.
6 teams.
It's going to turn into a category 5.
The power play is still going on for the next 40 seconds. It's going to continue. And within the span of these 35 seconds that are left, you need to make sure you're getting the most out of it. Squeeze out the maximum performance from your team. Get as many eliminations as possible. they will be doubled up in this stage 1. But now in 20 seconds, the power play ends. All these 6 teams that were gathered up towards that northern side, they have scattered across because they know getting the advantage of the power play is now useless. They cannot do it because the time's too less. Team Tumulus on the left side, even they're tanking the damage of the blue. I'm not sure what Team Tumulus is trying to do here. The next zone shift's going to be crucial, and it shifts down south. Reckoning Esports in the smack center towards that military base, while Mogo Esports is now camping the bridge.
Understandable, Mogo want to gather a few extra elimination points out there, but they need to be wary about the fact that there would be other teams on their 6, so have to be careful. That's all I'll say. Sarang move back over towards Nova Ripnoi. We'll just try to play in for the survival now. Can't really do anything else apart from that. OG going in for such a late rotation from the bridge.
हर चेयर में मेरे साथ इस बार आ चुके हैं ओएस मैं जानना चाहूँगा कि टीम फॉरएवर यहाँ पे नहीं है. ऑब्वियसली बुरा तो लगा होगा, लेकिन इन टॉप 16 में आपको क्या लगता है कौन सी वो एक टीम है जो कि आपके अनुसार बहुत बेहतर करने वाली है?
मुझे लगता है कि जी बहुत बेटर कर सकती है, बिकॉज उनका जो आपस में जो भाईचारा है और जो वो मैंने जो इधर देखा है तो उसके हिसाब से मेरे को जी लग रही है.
एक प्रेडिक्शन जल्दी से बताओ इस सर्कल को देख के, और क्या लगता है कि क्यों?
ये मिलिट्री जोन है तो मोगो मिलिट्री उतरना पसंद करती है, तो उनको मिलिट्री का सब कुछ पता है, तो मे बी मोगो.
चलिए, इनका प्रेडिक्शन मोगो रहने वाला है. एक आखिरी सवाल ये रहेगा कि किस तरीके से वो गलतियां हुई जिसके कारण टीम फॉरएवर यहाँ पे नहीं है और ये 16 यहाँ पे है.
मतलब मेरे जो प्लेयर्स हैं वो काफ़ी न्यू प्लेयर्स हैं और उनको इतना एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है लैन का, तो उन्होंने एक्सपीरियंस भी लिया अच्छा खासा और कुछ गलतियाँ हुई उनके साइड से छोटी मोटी जिसकी वजह से वो रह गए, बट होपफुली दे कम बैक करेंगे.
चलिए, ये कम बैक करेंगे, लेकिन अभी हम लोग सीधा चलते हैं अपने कास्टर की तरफ क्योंकि उनका भी कुछ कहना ज़रूर होगा टीम फॉरएवर के बारे में.
For Team Forever, yeah, unfortunately not being able to make it to the grand finals from the playoffs. But right now, it's time to focus on CG and Global Esports. Considering these two mammoths, they collide against each other. Global Esports, it's another big mess up. Arsenal gets knocked out and dusted. And now, here comes the backup. It's time for the cavalry to arrive. But as soon as Slug closes on in, Slug messes up. He gets knocked out. And for CG, they've got every single advantage you can ask for. But what a great strike that was from Beast. Even Goblin gets put to sleep, and now Beast is going for that patch-up. But a nade from S-Power to seal the deal, and that's it for Global Esports.
Beautiful nade coming in from S-Power himself. I thought that maybe the man was way too back, so that patch-up would come in, and then the confirmation, so Carnival's game would be ruined. But no, this team survives. Only Hector is the casualty. And all the other players are going to stay alive. S-Power, Goblin, Neo, all of them are stepping up big time for their team. And the other ones are going to take control of all of that area. But the question is, for how long can they stay where they are? It is all the way out in the blue itself. And you were asking what Team Tamilas were doing. They were probably finding a few crews out there to sail in through the western parts and then end up somewhere around those southern shorelines of the entire military base island.
Yeah, Team Tamilas going for a botation. And I guess they would want to crash on the southern side of the military base, which would make a lot of sense. Godlike, they have left that southern side, so southern side is completely unprotected. Everyone's latching onto those elimination points that will be funneling in soon enough. OG, they're holding the Nova Ripnoi bridge, making sure no one's going to be even able to cross on over. They will not even be able to get any sort of whiff towards that bridge. On the opposite end, it's Aru. In the front end, it's Atanki, Vizjad, and AKOP. So yeah, OG, they're guarding that bridge perfectly. Raven Esports too is guarding the left side, which is going to be that Fair Pier bridge. And Carpadium, they will need to face off against Raven to find that clear rotate.
I want to see what Destro will call for this. Because if that third party happens, Mogo can get some important, crucial eliminations. But maybe they will not leave their spot because it is a prime spot after all. We see Global Esports do that, but that too, their own fun shenanigans. Not every single time. And as you mentioned, Orangutan right now guarding the Milta Bridge. God's Reign are the ones who are rotating from that part. And it seems like Entity... Now the big question is, will Entity go for the bridge rotation or will they pick up the boat somewhere down south of farm and then go for that rotation? Because again, that is not safe.
In my opinion, the question should be one blade. Will they be able to get Another good game just like the first one, considering it was the game of Erangel too. And right now, One Blade is in the smack center, right next to the Wolves. This will be a tough one to pull off, considering One Blade is out in the open as well. If the zone pans out in the smack center once again, then One Blade will have heavier traffic. And they will need to deal with that. There will be a lot of bullets just flowing in their direction. They will need to dodge all those bullets. There will be so many teams accumulating around them. They will need to find that comfort zone. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of these factors that will be coming through within 20 seconds.
Finally, we can see Team Tamil as well moving in. And exactly as we both mentioned from the southern part. Predictions, huh? But OG, they leave the bridge camp at the exact time when God's Rain were deciding to jump into it. But oh my god, what a hard shift.
Mogo Esports with the advantage. Godlike is the only team that can stop Mogo Esports at this point on. Even Reckoning Esports, for them, it's going to be clear flow towards that northern side. One Blade, they already start to make that rotation happen. Carpadium, it's time for a go call. And that's what they make. They've already messed up. They do not have a lot of points. They've only gotten 8 points off that first fight. But if Carpadium managed to convert another fight in their favor, then that's more than good enough.
They will definitely try to do that, but we're going to have a look at the exact same massacre that Godlike did against X-Park, and then Gravity being caught by Sarang, the last man standing. Godlike have been doing such a phenomenal job in those previous 2 fights, to be honest. Apart from the one against Seoul, which they messed up in Miramar, this team has been working out in unison.
Pretty much. But Jonathan messed up big time in that fight against Godlike.
True. Bit overeager there.
Yeah. I mean, Godlike and 8-Bit, this was supposed to be Godlike's fight, but then Jonathan, he got a little bit too eager, jumped outside of a moving vehicle, takes too much damage considering he ejected outside of a moving vehicle. But yeah, Carpadium now, the question is how can they rotate?
मेरे साथ जुड़े हुए फिलहाल WSB के ट्रिगर, और ट्रिगर आपको यहाँ बैठ के मैं देखा एंजॉय कर रहे थे मैच को आप काफ़ी अच्छे तरीके से. फिलहाल आपकी टीम या तो चांद तक पहुँचती है या तो शाम तक चली जाती है. ये क्यों हो रहा है? क्योंकि आप देखिए जब मैंने लास्ट टाइम देखे तो टॉप पे थे और अभी 10वें स्थान पे. अभी आई थिंक डे 1 ही हुआ है, अभी 2 दिन और बचे हैं, 8 मैचेस और बचे हैं. अभी एक ड्रॉप फाइट हार भी गए हैं, बट विल ट्राई कि कल हम थोड़ा और हमारा अप्रोच और एग्रेसिव रहे, जस्ट लाइक ऑल अदर टीम्स. प्लेसमेंट अभी उतना मैटर नहीं करती है डे वन के एंड तक. लेट्स सी हम कल कैसे बाउंस बैक करते हैं. चलिए, इनका तो बहुत ही अच्छा कहना था. अभी चलते हैं कास्टर की तरफ, उनसे जानते हैं कि क्या इनकी बात से आप सहमत हो.
Day 2 is supposed to be the day of comebacks. Yes, a lot of these teams are hoping for the bounce backs, and probably one of those can be WSB too. But the real concern starts for Raven Esports, a team that has been dominating not just the league stage, even the playoffs. And now look at Raven Esports on the 11th spot on the day 1. I genuinely did not expect this from Raven Esports, and I think so the only reason why this is happening is because of the lobby. The play style has changed. Every single team is playing it tactical and methodical, and that's why Raven isn't able to adapt.
That's one part of it, and also that's one team that we're just talking about. There's another one that I still can't really figure out, and that's Entity, who were also soaring up high in the clouds in the top 4 itself, and after that they were also on a verge of just elimination. So the drop for even Entity has been humongous, and they've been losing players to Carpadium. Now, you look at how the rotation was being pulled off by Somraj. I still feel that this team is looking a bit confused as to where they want to rotate on the southern island from.
I mean, that drop definitely was visible from the playoffs. Entity was not able to get anything done over there. The playoffs was a big mess up for Entity. The struggles were clearly visible, but still, luckily enough, they qualified to the grand finals. And now they're not able to justify that qualification.
Now, look at the position of Goblin. It should technically be a one and done position. You get one person from that angle, and then you should be taken care of. Or at least there's got to be trouble for you, because now since he's fired a few shots, Raven will be looking at him, Mogo will be looking at him, there's also Carpedium who will obviously look at him. The only cover that can be provided is this power and Neo, but what a shift, and it's the Apes who control the entire circle.
They're in the smash center, but they also need to make sure that they're not going to be the center of attraction. That's an important point. The Apes, they've got the best possible position they can ask for, but even the back lines are going to be filled up by Kusol, and even Mogo Esports is going to breach in from that northern side. OG, the team game now needs to be perfect. Communication needs to be incredible. One single miscall, and instantly the entire team crumbles apart. It's a really delicate time of the game.
As you mentioned, really delicate, but I was about to say even the C buildings are in contention, and that's exactly where Reckoning is now fighting in against the members of Team Tamilas. Important fight which will determine who will maintain the control of the south part of this map. Nade being tossed in towards Viper, chips him a little bit, only 23. He'll be able to heal himself back up. And now just because of all those smokes, you can't really land in those nades into that compound. Ronnie gets knocked out by the play zone. Now that is a big problem.
In the Grand Finals, Team Tamilas has been a force to be reckoned with. And now they're facing off against Reckoning Esports, a team that has got a lot of young guns underneath their belt. A 3-on-3 fight where Team Tamilas, they might just fall short. But considering they're in a better standing in the overall standings, this might just work for them. They've gotten 30 points so far. That's a really great start for day one of the Grand Finals. Team Tamilas must be in a really healthy mindset, while Reckoning Esports still looking to find that momentum. With just 22 points, they've got a lot to prove in this game. Raven Esports on the run as they finally do make that rotation in the perfect timing, and now they're going to find themselves collided against OG. This will be a fight that they do not mean to take, but they need to take somehow. And now Raven Esports, even their back's going to be exposed to the C building. What can they do? This is a really dicey setup that Raven Esports is trying to execute.
They just want to go over towards the other hill on the military base to try and save themselves, but the smoke wall needs to be there because they are technically, literally in the smack center of all of the fire powers.
Honestly, Raven Esports, the fact that they pulled this off, hats off. I mean, it was such a rotation. Imagine they moved all the way from Ferry Pier down south. They went between so many teams as if they were not even scared of doing so. And now they found themselves somewhere around the center of that zone. That's really impressive. Completely on the opposite side. Godlike's on the move towards that better spot in the zone too, but they're soon enough going to face off against God's Reed. And it's a Wrath that you would not want to face off against. Punk, this is quite a bad move. The man separating from the pack, and this is not going to work for them. While God's Reed with the high ground advantage up against the players of Raven Esports, and Fury is challenging death.
It's a big, big problem out there for Raven themselves. Just one good nade. For now, all of them are being tossed apart. A bit too far away. But look at where AKOP is also going. He's trying to create a big flank angle over towards the back, or maybe not. The scouting.
Oh my god, that
These
nade.
nades are so crucial. God's Reign have decided to move all the other way because Raven pulled off a big rotate only for the circle to shift away in the no man's land.
Raven Esports, it's time to play the patience game. I know they're not inside of the zone, but they should not hurry just yet. Wait for the right moment to strike inside of the zone. Mogo Esports, they deal the last finishing blow against their opponent, and now it's their time to move up a little bit more. All the teams in the military base, they're screwed. The only reason why they moved in towards the military base is because there's the most amount of cover available to play, and Godlike is also one of them. Godlike, to make that rotation outside of the military base, they're going to be catching a lot of hurt upon themselves. Raven Esports, they did not play that patience game, and now they need to face the wrath of God's Reign.
True. They were just mowed down in that situation by all those vehicles. Could not do anything in that case. And as you mentioned, God's Reign now have got that big advantage, but oh my god, some road rage out there going in. Among the teammates itself, it's absolutely fine. For now, it's Orangutan who've got the best possible situation in their hands, but this could be one of the same things that we witnessed with Carnival Gaming back on the map of Miramar in the Domination Week itself, where all the fights, they happened away from them and not near them. But again, it was Domination Week. This is final, so teams are playing in for the zone itself. So OG have got the opportunity to try and get a few more elimination points.
OG, they're controlling the entire zone. But as I mentioned, if you are going to be in that power spot, you will also be the center of attraction. And that's something OG needs to avoid. They're spreading themselves out a little bit too much. The zone's way too small. All it takes is one single casualty for everything to fall apart. And that's what OG needs to realize. This zone has literally fell in their court. And if OG messes this up, this will be a mistake that they will never be able to forget themselves for. And OG, they need to keep on moving up with the same pace.
I just love the way how Destro is giving the call to his teammates out there, occupying the entirety of the northern part of the circle. Yes, do not have the height advantage whatsoever, but it's absolutely fine as every other team will be taking in the fights against each other as they all move in over towards that south. It's chaos out there, it's madness as Hunters is out there of reckoning, trying to find something. Dinosaur's low in the HP as Fox is trying to gatekeep everyone.
As I mentioned, OG, they're spreading too wide apart, and that's what exactly happens. One of the men gets isolated and taken down for OG. That's not a good news. Aru, the IGL himself, is already done and dusted, not in the game anymore. 3 men still standing though for OG, and they're getting shot at from all the different directions. OG, they're trying to reposition, find themselves in a better spot. It's time to reunite, but Team Tamalas is now dishing out a decent bit of damage. Team Tamalas, even for them, it's time to reposition, and that's what they're exactly looking to pull off. They're on the slope though. It will be a tough one to pull it off. OG with the man advantage and also with the high ground advantage, they strike down another man. Manti gets knocked out and dusted as now Team Tamalas is taken down to a 2-man squad, but even Vishal gets knocked out from OG, so that's going to bring the fight to neutral grounds.
It could very well be a Mogo chicken dinner or maybe a God's Range chicken dinner depending on which team has more patience. Look at where Phantom is going all the way out of the safe zone. Just trying to create an off angle as Mogo fights in the long range. Justin gets one knock onto Team Tamilas, but they also have to worry about the flank that's coming in onto them. Wizjot is being revived out. That is big for Orangutan because they can find an opportunity as Team Tamilas were taken out on 4th position. Now, oh my god, Venom missed in on Delta.
Oh my god, Venom makes the same mistake Jonathan did from Godlike. He ejects outside of the moving vehicle too early and he gets knocked out. God's Reign, they're cracking under that pressure. Mogo Esports, they get the exact advantage that was desperately needed in the fight. And now Shogun, he's got his hands on so many utilities. He's got so many nades in his hands, and he's probably going to be looking forward to toss them away. Phantom on the receiving end of things, and now for Shogun, he needs to deal with 2 players at the same time. Peeks outside of the smoke, and Shogun gets knocked out and dusted. God's Reign to prevail in that fight against Mogo Esports. They deny the possibility of chicken dinner.
And now it's down to Fury, low in that HP. The confirmations are going to flow in for the members of OG who've still got 3 players remaining, and it is done and dusted. It is the 8th who will get the winner chicken dinner.
Last game of the day, the OG, they come out on top. Orangutan, what a great finish that was. The previous game of Miramar, 2 great ending. Now this game of Erangel as well. OG, they're building up that cushion more and more. And this is a really good news, but it also feels deja vu.
दिन का आखिरी मैच एंड इट इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट कंसिस्टेंट टीम्स जिन्होंने निकाला है अपना ये चिकन डिनर. इट इज ओरंगुटैन. मैच के पहले, दिन के पहले शोर बहुत था, तुम्हारी आवाज़ें आ रही थी अलॉन्ग विद ऑल योर फैंस. ब्रो, इतनी कंसिस्टेंट परफॉर्मेंस, हाउ डू यू लुक बैक एट दिस डे टुडे?
मतलब आपको पता ही है फिर ओजी बहुत कंसिस्टेंट है, बस वो लास्ट डे पे थोड़ा हमारा इधर उधर.
मैं आना ही नहीं चाहता था यार, मैं तो दूसरा सवाल पूछने वाला था.
लास्ट डे पे थोड़ा इधर उधर हो जाता है, बस ठीक है, लास्ट डे पे हम ट्राई करेंगे ना हो इधर उधर. बस आपको पता ही ओजी का ऐसा ही यार, हमारी टीम का आपको पता नहीं है क्या जो आप ऐसा सवाल पूछ रहे हो.
भाई एक सेकंड, यू नो व्हाट ही सेड बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि कल रात को हम सारे जो हिंदुस्तानी हैं हम बैठ के टीवी देख रहे थे जब नीरज चोपड़ा जो हैं वो जैवलिन में सिल्वर लेके आए. एंड वो हमने फिल्मों में भी सुना ना कि जो सिल्वर लेके आते हैं उनको दुनिया याद नहीं रखती है. तो ही डिड रियली वेल. पिछले साल अगर कहा जाए तो सिल्वर तुम लोगों को मिला था. बहुत फाइन लाइन होती है, धागे भर का फ़र्क होता है इन बीइंग द बेस्ट एंड बीइंग द सेकंड बेस्ट. क्या ये साल ओजी का हो सकता है? बिकॉज यू स्टार्टेड डे 1 विद अ बैंग ब्रदर.
मोस्टली प्लान तो ऐसा है कि लास्ट डे पे तो चोक करते ही है, ये तो हिस्ट्री रही है. बट प्लान ऐसा है कि पहले 2 दिन में इतना लीड बना देंगे कि अगर एक भी मैच निकलेंगे तब भी जीत जाएंगे.
चलो तुम्हारे खुद के निजी परफॉर्मेंस के बारे में बात करते हैं. तुम पगला चुके हो दोस्त.
नहीं मतलब क्या बोलूं?
I mean, okay, maybe शायद ये अपने बारे में ऐसे बात नहीं कर सकता है, but he's gone bonkers, he's gone crazy.
Yes. वो पागल ही है. वो he's not gone. He is.
Listen, it's a very happy OG unit. उन्होंने निकाला एक chicken dinner and they are right at the very top of the leaderboard. Can they continue this? Well, पता करेंगे, लेकिन अभी के लिए एक छोटा सा break.
एरांगल के जंगल में 2 बार हुआ फंबल. सीजन 3 में होगा असली दंगल. ना थर्ड ना सेकंड, इस बार नंबर 1. गेट रेडी फॉर द रोल.
OG having a good day and a good time in the battlegrounds. One thing is for sure, once again they have made a big lead in the overall standings. But as the boys themselves mentioned, they end up choking up on the last day. So this time the game plan is to build such a big lead in the first 2 days that even on the last day, if they just manage to squeeze one single game away, the championship should still be theirs.
I mean, that's the amount of cushioning they're trying to build, as you mentioned, right? So they are, it seems like, moving
Getting
fearlessly.
closer, yeah.
Absolutely. But there's one thing I wanted to correct. Suren, people do remember the second place holder, the silver medal holder. You all remember the Turkish shooter named Yusuf.
Oh man, you can never forget that guy. Such an incredible dude. But yeah, I mean, Philip's one-played moments of the day, and some of the moments that happened today you can never forget. Day 1 holds so much value for so many teams. Some of them managed to perform, but some of them underperformed. For example, 8-Bit and Mogo Esports, especially for Mogo Esports, they like to start it off slow, but this time they've had too much of a slow start.
I mean, I would agree. It seems like even this one entire game, which were basically coming into their own laps, was apparently stolen away by the other sides. And God's reign, they managed to finish off the entire team of Mogo as well. OG finding the perfect opportunity. But during the entire day, even the first one game, which we saw, the first map of Erangel, we saw quite a few fumbles from a lot of teams which we never really thought were. Team Xpark, Global Esports.
Even OG, if you remember AKOP, missing out a lot of those S12K shots. But then later on, the recovery was quite nice, right? AKOP has been quite a valuable asset for his team throughout the entire day. For One Blade, they had quite a great start, but then after that, One Blade hasn't been seen all over the board. Later on, One Blade was not able to pull off anything. Global Esports, second game was incredible. It was massive considering they got the chicken dinner, and the same thing can be said for Global Esports too. After that second game, Global Esports was fully deactivated, nowhere to be seen on the chart.
Exactly. The first one was that same, second one chicken, third, fourth, exactly the same, where they could not pull off all of their own shenanigans which they like to. But again, this one map of Miramar, it was bonkers for AKOP. So Rain said it perfectly. This man went mad. And this was the moment where I just lost my mind. He just jumped down, smacked up a couple of people, and before jumping down, he also sprayed down the third one out in the far fray. That was beautiful from him.
I mean, he managed to secure 9 eliminations in that one single game, and AKOP has been an unstoppable beast for OG. This is not the first time he's pulled off such a nuclear performance, right? He's been doing that in the past, and he's been doing it time and time. And as I mentioned, he has been an incredible asset for this entire lineup. Add on Atanki as well, a controlled fragger, and he adds on the beauty of those patience game. Moving in towards the last game of the day, you saw a big cluster of teams in the final few moments on the southern side, which was the military base itself. And then within a snap, all those teams got eliminated.
Exactly, because they all had to move forward, go uphill against all the other teams who basically were there and were creating those fires and were raining hell down onto them. That's why Raven as well were caught eventually, and that's the reason why we saw so many teams just utilize those vehicles to try and finish all of them off. But again, you have to utilize the opportunity to grab yourself this TVS Raider, beautiful bike, and it comes with 99 connected features. And guess what? It also has an 8-inch TFT screen. That is super wicked indeed.
Yeah, 5-inch TFT screen to add on to that. Yeah, it's just an absolute beast and a beauty too at the same time. TVS Raider is our mobility partner. And moving on forward with the conversation now, day one has pretty much came to an end. All the games are done and dusted. You've got OG at the top of the overall standings, while you've got Global Esports lowly and steadily right underneath them. But God Serene, I still want to see them do better.
I mean, I would agree with you, because even though the previous one, probably they came second, but you want to see this team go on and frag with the way how they normally would, right? They're playing way too passive, tanking in the first two blues and then move forward.
That's pretty much been the playstyle for a lot of these aggressive teams, right? They have definitely switched up the pace. But look at the overall standings. You've got Godlike on the second spot, trailing the players of OG with a big distance
18 points, that's massive.
As I mentioned, OG, they are building up a big cushion. And if this cushion comes into play on the day 2 as well, then OG will be unstoppable on day 3. No matter if they mess up all the games, OG will still be at the top.
This is... I did not expect that to happen on day 1 itself. I mean, 58 points is bonkers. It is bonkers indeed, because the next two are on 40 points each. You still got 18 points lead. That means one entire game of chicken dinner with 8 frags bare minimum.
Keep this thing in mind, OG now can also start to experiment a little bit more. They can move in on day 2, try and play it a little bit aggressive, considering day 2 is going to be super sweaty, and it also holds the chance to give in that comeback possibility for the teams on the latter half of the board. So anything can happen on day 2, man. OG, they can't switch up the playstyle. They can't switch up the pace too.
Absolutely, and it seems that AKOP has also got the opportunity to steal away this beautiful trophy of TVS Raider Most Wicked Player.
That's what it feels like for one now, but we do not know what the day 2 holds. Maybe someone from Global Esports can frag out insanely well. With that being said, the day 1 of the finals comes to an end. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the day 2, on the day of comebacks.